What's up, Squid? Okay. Sorry, I need to like tweet and do all that silliness, which is why I started streaming 5 minutes early. Then I'm gonna explain what this is. Like these are the qualities I want to. I'll explain it once I actually start reviewing. Okay. Tweet. Okay. Tweeted. What's up, Anto? Review time? Yeah. It's gonna be a bit different a review because I'm not gonna care about who's winning really. We're gonna be mostly focused on every support ult that gets used by either team on every map in every fight. You have a question, Swimmer? Am I a big fan? I'm not a big fan of anything. Other than Sunlight, and video games. I have to go, I've started going outside every day now for like 30 minutes in the morning. Overall improved my day. Sportal meaning beat or transfer including rally. So when I up until this question, only beat and trance. If rallies are up when we're talking about how to use support ults, I will mention rally, but I'm not going to focus on the rallies. So like if you have all three support ults, I'll probably talk about the order I'd want to use them in, why I'd want to use them in that order. But I wouldn't, for instance, go to every fight with rally and see how they used it. Yes, can you confirm going outside improves mood? Would heavily recommend, especially in the morning. And we're gonna wait 3 minutes. Then I'm gonna explain these, and then we're gonna go. We're gonna get into it. Doing the things with the review. Wow. With some background noise. Can we spot a wild elk outside now? I don't know what you mean. I don't even know where elks are in the world, to be totally honest with you. Like I assume most places, but I really don't, to be to be honest. Probably should. Okay, you know what? Right now, I'll check. Where are elks in California? Oh, Elk is a place in California. That's actually kind of crazy. Good to know. If you have a question, by the way, please at me with it instead of just typing, because a problem I have when reviewing is I look at chat and then my thought process gets sidetracked. So unless there's an at, I'm going to try to avoid reading it when I start reviewing. But we're also going to wait a bit because I did start a tad early. How can I live such a lie? I don't care, man. I'm living my own interpretation of an elk, you know, indoors, playing video games. I think that's the ideal elk lifestyle. Peak elk performance, you know. The sleeve needs to roll up better, goddamn. Why am I in a cell? It's a like a movable wall. If you see like this, like there is a room behind me, but so other people aren't randomly on my webcam as they walk behind me. I use this divider every time I stream. Will I get glue sticks in my headphones? No. Why would I do that? That seems silly. Okay. Yeah. So let's get into it. So I put 3 good qualities for support ults, and I was also going to put bad qualities, but then as I was writing down the bad qualities, I realized they were kind of just the opposite of the good qualities I put. So I figured we just put good qualities and then talk about the spectrum for each one. So I wanted to separate the good qualities because I think a lot of ults have 1 or 2 of the good qualities down almost perfectly, but one of them is off and it makes it look really weird sometimes to the spectator. Normally it's when like the ult economy and the positioning and planning for using an ult are on point for a team, but the execution is off. So that kind of play would include like if their plan is to trance in a fight, but you trance after the first person dies. That doesn't mean the ult economy was bad. That doesn't mean the positioning and planning were bad. It means your execution was bad. Am I doing the regular season match or the finals? The finals. It should say state. Oh my god, but you're right though. I do have the regular season match open. Thank you very much for catching me on that. Oh my god. Good call. Good call. Good call. I appreciate it. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna look up Shock versus Titans finals and click on the one that's not by Overwatch League because they don't have it uploaded. Holy crap! Okay, I for some reason in my head I read your name as vidiot69 is gifting 5 tier 1 subs. So if that's not your name, I apologize, but thank you very much. That's a ton of support. I appreciate it. Okay, yeah. So we have execution, which is how effective was your ult, and that includes like reaction time, or it's mostly reaction time, I guess, or like beating a D.Va bomb and like the timing of actually having your ult get the most value. Ult economy is going to be if in that fight. Dude, my sub sound is kind of annoying me. Ult economy is going to be if in that fight using the ult was ever correct. So like if a team has good execution with a beat and it was planned well and they position well and they follow up, but the ult economy wasn't there, meaning like you needed that beat to live through a grav later, that will kind of be the ult economy point. Then the positioning and planning is if a team looks ready. It's a little hard without communications, but it's going to be if a team looks ready to follow up on an ult. Or if people are out of position and die and support ults still get used, I'm going to attribute that more to the person being out of position and then the execution from the support player rather than the positioning or planning from the support player. But yeah. And then obviously these things are a spectrum, so you can have terrible execution or perfect execution, terrible ult economy or perfect ult economy, and then perfect positioning and planning or terrible positioning and planning, and that's all a spectrum. The reason positioning and planning, by the way, are together is because generally your positioning reflects your plan, and you can't position correctly until you know your plan, whereas the other two are pretty standalone concepts, so I felt the need to put those two together. Okay, let's get into it. PogChamp. Uptime? You did it for the Antler headset? Okay. That's unlucky. Here, I'm going to try to turn this up so you guys can hear it a bit. And then once again, we're going to be skipping through most of the fights, really looking at support ult usage. So it's like first fight, Violet's building ult faster than Twilight. Moth is building ult way faster than Slime. This is an interesting point that I don't think a lot of people realize. The reason Moth is building ult faster than Slime isn't because like Moth is magically hitting, isn't because Moth is magically hitting more headshots. It's just the damage that Shock Take here on this disengage is a lot. So his first amp gets him 20% advantage, right? They keep trading. Moth is still keeping his 20% advantage. Super still low. Choyben takes a bit of damage. Now it's like 35 because he used his second amp to save or try to save Super here. So now like the reason I find this interesting is because Bumper has 35% more ult than Super, right? So that's some damage. Janu's like 10% ahead of Choyben. And Haxel's like 20% ahead of Rascal. And you can like see that damage reflected in the fact that Moth has beat so much before Slime. So it's like a kind of a cool way to look at ult economy in first fights is that since damage and healing tend to be about the same amount of ult percentage, you can see like where the damage actually came from to give Moth beat this early. It doesn't matter because Super ends up dying, but it is one of the fights where if like they disengaged the rally well and Super didn't die, they could probably re-engage with 2 support ults and win the fight. I'm not planning on talking that much about Brig ults. I mean, in the first fight, if you get Brig ult like this, just push in and win though. Like, should be pretty obvious to me. Okay, so this fight I remember watching and being very confused. So I'm pretty sure Shock trance here, and I'm not a fan of it. Let's watch the whole play, and then I'll back up and talk about why. Okay, so let's look at the start of this fight. They lose Super, Titans rally, Titans get control of the point. So on Koth, if you're fighting when the enemy team has control of the point, it's really bad for you because not only are they building percentage, but if you lose it, you lose like way more time. You'd much rather have a fight that ends very quickly on the point or like around the objective. Even if the fight's high ground, you'd still rather it end quickly so that there's like one clear victor because staggering fights like this is terrible for the team trying to retake. So Sinatraa picks Slime, and because of that he grabs, but they're still in a 5v5 after he picks Slime, right? So he chooses to grab in a 5v5, and it looks like he gets like Bumper and Janu. So from Violet's perspective, they are committing to winning the fight. Whether or not that's right. Their plan here is like, we're going to grab, we're going to use ults, we're going to win the fight. Choyben gets demeched before Violet trances. Did Violet have trance up before Choyben got demeched? He did. So Violet holds trance until after Choyben dies, or gets demeched. And then they get grabbed, right, because Choyben gets demeched, so Sominsu knows the grab is free. And then he trances also after Choyben dies. The other thing here is you're trancing a grab that, like, even if Choyben was in mech and alive, the chances that Bumper has Shatter here are so high that you just lose the fight anyway. Like, Bumper could do one swing, shatter the grab, they win the fight anyway. So I think that his positioning for the play was fine. He was close enough to the grab to trance it. I think the execution was bad because going into that fight, if you're going to trance, you also have to trance to save the D.Va. You can't like you can't wait for the grab to use the trance here. Either you're using the trance to win the fight or you're not using the trance. You can't play passive when you're already down like this, both positionally and manpower wise, and expect to win the fight. So like because he's at disadvantage, he's more pressured to use the ult. And then the ult econ of this I think is really bad because you're committing. Generally in Koth, if you lose the first fight, the enemy team has ult advantage. You lose the second fight, and then you have a good retake where you have like either parity in ults or you also have ult advantage. But by using both grab and trance here, I know I'm not really talking about the grabs, but you're committing big ults in this fight that you just don't need to. Like, Titans are going to win this fight using rally grab, and you used grab trance and somehow still lost it. So I'm not a fan of the trance. I think its timing was bad. I think its ult economy overall, like the thought process to use the trance isn't good. Yeah. Choi was completely out of range of Violet. This is Choyobin. Violet has trance. Let's look at how early Violet had trance. He has trance now. He can trance and run to Choi. 100%. That's like 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4 seconds that he had. And he should be trancing to Choyobin. My point is, if you're going to trance here, if you wait until Choyobin gets demacked and you're going to trance a 4v5 Grav, there's just like actually no way you win the fight. So if you're willing to commit trance here, it has to be before he gets demacked. As soon as he gets demacked, you can never trance here. So, yeah, I went over this one. It was really good by Twilight not to trance Shock's Grav because they didn't have their run. It's really hard to get finishing damage in a Grav without run. Can you completely block the doorway? With trance or with like tanks? Like unintentionally, maybe you could block the doorway, but I don't think that played a factor in that fight in specific. It's like that's a very hard thing to coordinate in an already chaotic fight, unless it's a preset plan. And my guess in that fight is Violet didn't realize Choyobin needed trance or that they were going to commit to the fight. Then Sinatraa graved and he felt like they could commit to the fight, and he wasn't sure if he was going to trance. Someone else probably called for him to trance, and then he pressed Q. But you can body block trance, yeah. I mean, he probably could have gotten to Choyobin. But at that time in the fight, it didn't look like he should trance. So, like, my point is not that he should have tranced earlier, is that he never should have tranced. But the way I was trying to explain that is if you're going to use your ult at all in that fight, it's much better to use it before the D.Va gets demacked rather than after. I mean, they're not in Grav at that point. So, I mean, Rein could try to shield, like, the setup that they were in didn't make that possible. Like, right here, Violet gets trance. He could just start trancing forward. His entire team pushes, and they group with Choyobin. My point here is, like, this is the best chance in the fight so far to trance. And it's the only one that's even defendable, in my opinion. Because as soon as you get graved, your chance of winning the fight go to 0. Because Choyobin's demacked, there's a Reinhardt still in front of you. They can very easily split you in the grav when you trance, but move on. For specifically saving Choyobin, I do not think Titans could have responded to stopping the trance from reaching Choyobin, is my point with that.
Vancouver Titans, as soon as Reinhardt doesn't have that shield, you push right in around it. You see Slime here getting the follow-up kill, chasing Rascal back to the spawn.
That Reinhardt shield has 2,000 hit points, and you can see as it's starting to get broken.
Why was Rascal back there? It's fucking weird. Okay, so retake for Shock is now really hard, right? Because they already used their trance. They're going to be playing in a double support ult. If you're Titans, you're probably okay with taking a fast fight with your Transcendence because Sinatraa doesn't have Grav. So if you like dive with Trance, win the fight, it's very likely Twilight builds another Trance before Sinatraa gets Grav. So I think that would be a good plan with support ults here. It's a little hard to go aggressive with Trance, and it's important not to think of it in a way where you're like suiciding with Trance. You're more of holding chokes extremely aggressive, and if they ever fuck up in like the way they use their bubbles or they use amp or their shield breaks, then you can go aggressive and you have the safety net of if we fuck up our neutral game, we can Transcendence and we'll win. So it's not like you just press Q and speed in, it's like it just gives you an extra layer of protection on the way you're going to play the neutral to win the fight. So that's the call I like to see from Titans. I want to see them hold this top choke extremely aggressive. There's one downside, which is that since Shock have rally, their plan could be to like rally and push, and Titans might not want to trance to counter engage the rally. I'm okay with trancing to counter engage a rally because you can like discord the Brig, trance, everybody goes on the Brig, no one can die, Brig probably dies. But I can understand if you don't want your trance to get forced by the rally.
They have some of these ultimates coming online. You can see at the top of the screen the check mark means the hero has the ultimate ability.
So they give them high ground. Let's back up a little.
Online, you can see at the top of the screen the check mark.
It's pretty good positioning by Twilight.
Hero has the ultimate ability. That'll be Rascal using his.
I'm gonna wait until I actually see a support ult used. Okay, so let's talk about that beat. There was a beat, there was a rally, that's it.
It's coming online. You can see at the top of the screen the check mark.
Okay, so Titan's play, since we just saw it, we know what it is. It's to D.Va Bomb Shatter. They wait. What do you think their trigger is to go? Okay, so they force bubbles, right? That's their trigger to go in this fight. So they force Rein Bubble. They D.Va Bomb. And Sinatra's saving bubbles so that he can bubble the D.Va Bomb off himself. Moth beats to try to save people. I think this beat is good. Assuming no one dies to the D.Va Bomb, like if Sinatraa bubbles the Shatter, this is probably an amazing beat that has a really good chance to turn the fight for them, or at least force out a lot more ults from Vancouver. The fact that Sinatraa gets shattered makes this beat just really unfortunate. So Moth is also positioned in a way where he can hit everybody who's an LOS of the D.Va Bomb and also then hide, which is really good. The beat's a bit early, though. Like, the beat decays so quickly that if Zarya had full beat there, she doesn't die. She probably still dies because she's laying on the ground, but she wouldn't immediately die. And it's possible she gets saved from Rascal Briggying her from here. So it's like a tiny thing. Like, that execution thing is really small. Ult econ-wise, I like the beat. Execution, obviously there's like that little thing, but I still think you shouldn't expect Zarya to get shattered, so this tiny detail shouldn't ever matter. And then his positioning was really good, and the planning was really good. It looked like he had like a solid idea of what he's doing with the beat. So I like the beat. Just unfortunate that Bumper also shattered Sinatraa to kill him.
Throws it in, it's dangerous! Sinatraa couldn't get away from that one. He was knocked to the ground by Bumper's Earth Shatter. And one of the most important damage dealers on the side of the Shock was removed from the fight before it began.
Going into next fight, Titans have all three support ults. Shock are only close to Trance. They don't have Grav. Shock can't really win this fight, actually. So again, if I'm Vancouver, I want to use one of my support ults aggressively, in a sense where I just want to hold a choke aggressively. If they push us or if they fuck up their cooldowns, you engage. It's just like playing a neutral, but with an added safety net. So they use Rally first. I think using Rally first here is always correct. Not only does Rally apply the most pressure because you still have your Zen discording and it also lasts the longest, but it makes the Brig as a target really, really hard to lock down. It also has a tendency to force support ults. And if, like, let's say Shock had Trance and Beat here and Titans have all three support ults. If they Rally engage, they force Trance, they kite that, and then they Trance, then they re-engage, then Shock have to Beat, then Titans kite Beat, re-engage with their own Beat, and now Titans are pretty much winning the fight in a fight where they just have Beat versus nothing. So engaging with Rally to force ults is generally really good. You have to make sure you're like close enough so they can't just disengage, but it's usually a pretty good plan. You can see Shock pretty much disengage here. So execution on the Rally was pretty poor. Why did he trance the Shatter? He was going to get shattered, so he tranced. Okay. I'm going to watch the whole fight and then comment on each support ult.
But it didn't connect. The Titans really unperturbed at this point, still want to push forward. So Minsu, the number under his targeting reticle is the percentage of his charge, and he is charged up fully, ready to do a lot of damage. And the Graviton Surge is thrown in again, Bumper. Finds Rascal, puts him up against the wall. Now the Graviton Surge and the Shock is self-destruct attempt. Drake Open finds Slime. Sinatraa was so low, he had to back out.
They win this fight, obviously, because like Zarya Zen alive in a 3v3 is so much stronger. I'm pretty sure at least they cap. I'm going to go back after I just confirm. Okay, so that fight was interesting. There were a lot of support ults used that fight. So they start off with the Rally. Shock do a good job backing up, not giving the Rally value. Super sees Twilight out of position. He shatters him. So Twilight's execution on this ult is perfect. He's reacting to an Earth Shatter. Ult economy is not great, obviously, because you're effectively wasting Trance. And positioning and planning are also both bad because you are in a position where your trance got forced by an Earth Shatter, which should never happen.
For the rally.
So, good play by Super, but also Twilight fucked up here. However, credit to him, his execution was good to react to the Earth Shatter by trancing.
The Titans are a little bit more durable for the time being. Super tried to ward the Titans off with an Earth Shatter.
Although, I'm pretty sure in like overall ult economy, you would rather your Zen die here than trance here. Possibly.
But it didn't connect.
In like a statistical sense. Like, I don't know what your chance of winning this fight is once you waste trance.
The Titans really unperturbed at this point. Still
Shock,
wanna
wait out the trance and push back
forward.
in.
Sominsu, the number under his targeting reticle is the percentage of
Sominsu
his
grabs.
he is charged.
So, one thing about Grav is it sucks if you are Brig or Lucio in the Grav because you're two of the targets who can get pinned when your team trances Grav. So Rascal gets caught in the Grav here. Also, what is the quality on this video? Rascal gets caught here. Violet trances, which is definitely the right thing to do. It's the right moment to use the trance in the fight. It's not late. It's perfectly on time. The issue is just Rascal gets pinned.
Fully rendered to a lot of damage, and the Graviton
And they beat to follow up. I like the beat here. So this beat
the percentage
is serving a really important purpose. When you grab and the enemy team trances and you want your Rhine and your Brig to push the grab aggressively, it's really easy for them to die, right? Like there's 5 or 6 people in a really tight ball shooting at your tanks. So you can't always just charge a Grav. You can't always just run into the Grav swinging because you can still die really quickly. To the Zarya, to the Zen, if he's not trancing, to the just like the Rhine swings, the Brig swings, it can be a lot of damage. So they use the beat here to make sure that their tanks can go aggressive into the Grav without worrying about their own life.
fully rendered to a lot of damage.
So good execution, good old economy, good planning.
Finds Rascal, puts him up against the wall. Now the Graviton searches the shock itself, a strike attempt. Drake Hoban finds Slime.
It gets messy,
So low he had to back
but it gets messy in a bad way for Shock. There's no way a Diva Zen Zarya ever lose a 3v3 to Rhine Diva Lucio. Like Zen Zarya are the entirety of the damaging goats, so it's like so unreasonable to expect these people to win a fight.
out. Super is beleaguered, set up on all sides. He has to back away from the point with the shock.
So those are all the support ults that were used there. All in all, I think Violet's first trance was questionable. Sorry. And I'm not too sure how I feel about the beat timing thing. I think it's a really small issue. So all the support ults in that first round were good, other than Violet's first trance. Or I would be confident saying they were all good, other than the first trance.
See that big pit? That's what you're gonna see. Hammer, he goes away.
Oh, I remember watching this and feeling sad for Titans.
Winston provides so much better mobility. You're able to see this jump here from Bumper. You're not gonna be able to fall in that hole.
So I don't really care about first fight. I just want to see support ults.
The ability to displace his foes during Primal Rage, but Bumper goes down early.
Able to hold one of these.
Range with Zenyatta
How far into this round do we get before we even see a support ult?
unstuck by the shock. Will gain
Completely charged up like we saw Sominsu in that first
Okay,
round.
this fight will probably be the first
He's already
fight.
got this Graviton surge. That big Zarya ultimate decides a lot of team fights.
It really is game changing, or at least fight winning in many cases. And he's well ahead of Sominsu in accruing that percentage.
Just grabs everybody out.
Titans rally engage, trying to force ults and take space. They get a lot of space. It's pretty good execution. They don't get any kills or force any ults, so maybe the space alone isn't worth it, but it's not bad. Like, it's fine.
A bubble, a shield to get him out of trouble. But the Titans, when they move to the point, they will, I guess, try and beg the shock to try and fight them out in the open here. But they're a little bit split right now, and you can see across the face of the screen goes Super to chase after Bumper. That's the Graviton surge now. Bumper's trying to go for the primal range, but it's not.
So we have Violet, Trance,
Taken down by Chuikovic.
Rascal, Rally.
Self-destruct thrown in there by
I think that's it.
Chuikovic, who zoned out. The rest of the
So
Titans are getting
that's a really simple fight. Violet, Trance to grab, Rascal, Rally to re-engage post-grab. There's nothing special to talk about in that fight. Good ult by Violet, good ult by Rascal.
Super to get back in the fight. See Vancouver, they have to play a little bit passive. Don't want to lose anybody here. So you did lose your main tank. Is the shock already up to 75% here? You're looking at like maybe one more team fight to decide this point potentially.
The Titans aren't working with too much. They do have 2 support ultimates to use, Slime and Twilight. And they'll be necessary. necessary to keep the Titans durable as they are going to have to fight tooth and nail for control at this point. Bumper already takes a large amount of damage, as does Janu. So both
It's a really hard point to retake.
Slime now going to try and push in, displace people, and knock them off the edge of the point. It doesn't work out.
Okay, so we have a beat.
What an important pick, the San Francisco Shock. Twilight's got no
Okay,
choice, but now
we have a beat, we have a trance.
to keep what remains of his team vital, but it may
We have
not be
another
enough.
beat.
Another support ultimate. This time it's Slime trying to propel the Titans forward.
We have a rally.
The Titans fighting with 4 now. Those players will respawn and rejoin the fight, but it might be too late. Janu is taken down after he uses the self-destruct, and now we're in overtime. The Titans have to touch the point in some way or another, but Bumper's been forced back. Sinatra's caught in so much gravity.
And like this is a trance, but that's not an actual trance. So let's look at a lot of things. First of all, why do Shock beat? That's something I'd like to figure out. Was someone out of position that they beat onto?
And they'll be necessary to keep the Titans durable as they are going to have to fight tooth and nail for control at this point. Bumper already takes a large amount
We're
of
trading HB on point. It's right now favoring Shock.
as does Janu. So both tanks on the Titans already
Okay, so Moth beats because Super gets low, but Super jumps away as the beat comes in. That is unfortunate.
a bit of a
So let's talk about that. So, execution for Moth. The beat came out before Super died. He was in a good position to hit everyone other than Rascal. Maybe he even hits Rascal a little after this. So the beat is good, but the positioning and plan and the ult economy of it is like not great, but it's not terrible. But the positioning and planning were really bad. Not from him, but from Super and the team in general. They were positioned in a way where beat got forced because Super was out of position and got pressured. I'm not even sure if he was out of position or if someone else was out of position who was supposed to be helping him. But people other than Moth were out of position, and he was forced to ult because of that. That sucks for him, but there's nothing he can really do about that. Then there was like, I guess miscommunication might be another one instead of execution, where like Super leaves as the beat comes in. So yeah. Rascal does get it. Rascal's actually using it to push the backline. So this is a pretty good use of the beat from Rascal. I don't know if anyone's with him. It's like Rascal and Sinatra are taking control of this right side. So this beat is actually getting a lot of value, even though Super just like ditched. Bumper dies here. So the call from Titans, which is pretty clear from Slime not using beat here, is that they want to transfer this fight, and they want to save beat. However, Bumper dies, right? Slime's not going to beat to save Bumper because that's not the call. The call was to trance to save people on point. So execution of the tranced after Bumper died. Execution's bad. Ult economy play, good ult economy play. The right call here is to trance before you beat. So I think that call's fine. And then planning and positioning, I'd also say were a failure because he wasn't in position to trance the people he was supposed to trance, and maybe just positioning, maybe not planning, maybe just positioning and execution on that one. Why trance before beat? It builds a lot quicker. Trance doesn't save you from Diva Bomb combo anyway. Beat sometimes can. Beat is more flexible and less reliant on your flex support's positioning. Mostly trance just builds faster. Like there's a chance you trance and then you beat and then you can build another trance in the same fight if it's really long. It's kind of just better. Sometimes you beat first. Like there are some rare occasions you beat first, but mostly because Transcendence builds a lot quicker. It's also a lot more reactive of an ult. Like beat has a cast time, which makes it sometimes really awkward to try to respond to people getting low with. But the fact that it builds faster is a really big part of it. Almost every team would rather trance before beat. What are the conditions of beat sometimes saving you from bomb combos? So, okay. Let's think about the numbers for a sec, right? If the bomb is placed perfectly on top of a grav, so that let's say you cannot physically block the bomb with any cooldowns, and we're just looking at beat. Do I think they'd ever do away with the cast time for beat? No. I mean, it's good. The beat's a powerful ult. It is a little weird though. Okay, so you have a bunch of, let's say, Lucios in a Grav, right? They all have 200 HP and they have 1 sound barrier, and the D.Va Bomb is coming. If you beat at the perfect moment, you have 750 shields. That still only brings your total health up to 950. So if the bomb is placed perfectly, you'd still die no matter what happens, right? Because bomb does 1,000 damage, 1,000 is bigger than 950, you die. Not all D.Vas place their bombs on top of Gravs. Sometimes they want to put it above the Grav, sometimes they accidentally put it to the left or the right. A lot of the time it's not directly on top of the Grav. So you can generally save people with beat. The issue with this is that Lucio, if he's in a Grav, right? So let's say in a 6v6 team fight, you grab all 6 of my team. If I try to beat, I can get bashed, I can get pinned, I can just get shot by Zen and die. Even if my team trances to stay alive in the Grav, I can still get shot from Zen and die. I can still get bashed, I can still get pinned. So generally, the ideal situation where you're beating a Grav, where you're normally trancing and beating to make sure you stay alive, to be honest, is in Rein Zarya Goats versus Rein Zarya Goats. My Rein Zarya are in Grav, right? They have, let's say Zarya has bubble up for herself. My Zen is in the Grav, trancing it so they don't die. The bomb is coming in, and I beat. And because Rein and Zarya have more than 300 HP, beat gives them 1,050 HP, right? So it's more than a D.Va Bomb. And then the trance generally is enough to full heal them after that. So it depends who's in the Grav, it depends how close the bomb is, and it depends what your overall ult economy is. Sometimes you might just call it a dry fight versus a combo. You don't always have to use beat to save people. So it's a lot of like on-the-fly decision making that is probably almost always wrong for most people, and you're not trying to like, you're just trying to have the right call as much of the time as you possibly can. And doing that should be good enough, I guess. If that explains the question. So right here we have Moth beat, try to save super disengaged. So it was good execution, good ult economy, bad positioning and planning. Then we have, we're talking about Twilight's late trance to save Bumper, and that was good ult economy, but bad execution and bad positioning and planning because Bumper dies. Oh, Twilight's actually on top of Bumper. So it's good positioning. Oh, that's a Brig. I mistook Brig for his own. Okay, so never mind. I was right the first time. And Slime beats now because it's the only option, I guess. Execution on the beat wasn't great. Probably didn't need to use it that early. It seemed a bit panicky. Ult economy-wise, it's fine. It's last fight. You're going to need to beat eventually. And then positioning and planning. I guess planning was bad. Positioning was good because he got a lot of people with the beat. But his team failed to do anything with it.
Another support ultimate. This time it's Slime trying to propel the Titans forward. But Haxal's fallen. The Titans fighting with 4 now.
And yeah, let's see that fight. So I was happy with every support ult used by Shock other than the beat, but that's not Moth's fault. It's the communication issue where Super left as Moth beated, which just felt a bit weird. But it was really good on Rascal and Sinatra. Like, they still used the beat to take right side while also... Like, Moth's ult did get a ton of value. It would have just been better if Super had stayed here. Twilight's trance was late, definitely. I think all of Slime's plays were fine. So it was only Twilight's ult that round.
When you saw the Shock do there at the end, really nicely.
This map for the Shock to take away the first map when they are hugely underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, like the Titans have not suffered many, first map defeats, right? The Shock undefeated on this map. So to win this map, get an advantage here for the Shock, put the Titans on the back foot, would be massive.
Bumper gets a Discord all placed on him early on. That's Violet amplifying the rest of his team's damage against the main tank of the Titans.
Shock just destroyed them in that neutral and just took points so fast.
He needs to regroup with his team. So early on, the Shock gain a strong position. Now they need to leverage this into a one-team fight.
This is just like how the first point went, though, where the Shock had position on the point, then they lost their Reinhardt. if they can adjust. Super
So Violet's at 60, Twilight's at 60.
playing around the pole. He gets a bubble there from Sinatra, so goes up, tries to get some damage. See Bumper low. He has to back up here.
This is huge. A big momentum swing against the Titans.
Titans give up point.
The
It's
shot now.
kind of
control
notable.
the point. They've stood on there unfettered for long enough to make it their own. Another
Biggest ult difference is Super and Bumper,
Titans have to think of another angle of attack.
which is kind of interesting.
Both teams going to get these Zenyatta ultimates online at about the same time. So you see at the top of the screen, Twilight. He's got his check mark. You got that ultimates online at about the same time. So you see at the top of the screen, Twilight.
Okay, why are you showing me POV in this fight, dude? Okay, so Titans get Trance up. In their head, they think we have Trance up first. We're gonna engage.
He's got his check mark. You got that big Zenyatta
That's like
ultimate
what this play is that they just did.
live.
And we're gonna play out the entire fight, but that's rough.
Desperately, Violet was trying to keep his main tank up, but Bumper, he saw the blood in the water and he chased for it. Now the shot
They don't
with
use
a
any more
different
support
fight.
ults this
One
fight,
of the
right?
most key players, and they need to maintain control of the point. So Sinatra digs deep, goes for the graviton circ. Bumper though, what a heal! Fantastic by Huxel. Repair pack kept Bumper alive despite the graviton, and this might hurt.
Oh yeah, this is where this is unfair and Super fucking solo carried. Okay, yeah, that's this fight. Okay, good to remember.
So you see at the top of the screen, Twilight.
What do I think Bumper solo on ult? He had to hold shield when they first went point, and Super swung his hammer into his face. Maybe more Bumper's fire strikes got eaten. It's not something that you can easily compare.
He's got his check mark.
So,
Zenyatta
this
ultimate
is really
online at about the
close.
same time. So you see at the
It's
top of
really
the screen,
close.
Twilight. He's got his check
Right now, you have to trance.
mark. You got that
Maybe now you have to trance after you see Bubble.
big Zenyatta.
But this is super greedy from Violet. I don't know why he'd hold on to it this long. Because if Super dies and he presses Q, it's like terrible. So execution's bad. Ult economy's good. Trancing here is the right play, so ult economy's correct. Positioning, he's in the right position. And planning, if it's their plan to counter an engage with trance, the plan is good. I don't really know what the plan is here. It's hard to tell. But the execution is really bad. The fact that Super dies here is really rough.
Zenyatta ultimate to keep him alive.
Super, oh no, it's down. Desperately, Violet was trying to keep his main tank up, but Bumper,
So then,
he saw the blood in the water.
from that point, why did Twilight trance?
He's got
Who
his
got
check mark.
low?
You got that big Zenyatta ultimate to keep him alive.
Super, oh
No,
no.
Twilight wastes trance.
Screen, Twilight.
Twilight gets scared because the Reinhardt swings him once.
Keep him alive.
Like, Super actually did a shitload of damage with that one swing he just got off. And it makes Twilight panic trance. Plus a boop from Moth. But you don't need to trance here. Twilight can be more greedy because one, they're like already positioned up point and have good positions. Two, their Reinhardt isn't getting focused down. And if your Lucio dies, the fight's not lost because you already killed Reinhardt. You're in a 5v5 and then you have trance advantage and you're still winning. And the Zarya is not going to die here. So it's only Twilight who would be at risk of dying. He thinks he's at risk of dying because he had bad positioning. Ult economy, this trance is really bad. Execution of the trance is really bad. This trance is really, really, really bad.
Super, oh no, it's down. Desperately, Violet was trying to keep his main tank up, but Bumper, he saw the blood in the water and he chased for it. Now the Shock were at a disadvantage. They're lacking one of their most key players, and they need
So Sinatra now has the ability to grab this fight because Twilight wasted trance.
to maintain control of the point. So Sinatra digs deep.
And the bubble does a good job of saving Bumper with the Briggy, but it's still rough.
What a heal!
If they had trance, they wouldn't have needed to be scared of it at all.
Fantastic by Huxel. Repair pack kept Bumper alive.
So now that Super's back, Moth decides to invest beat. I don't hate that, but I don't love it.
Despite the graviton, and this might hurt.
Like, was anyone low when he used beat?
Huxel, repair pack
Violet,
kept Bumper
kinda.
alive despite the graviton, and this might hurt.
Not really. Sinatra, kinda. Not really. So the beat's maybe a bit early regardless. But, like, the plan behind it's fine, and the ult economy of it's fine. Like, you probably are beating this fight if you want to win. And granted, I don't know how much damage they would have taken if Super didn't hit a massive 5-man shatter. So we'll say that's fine. And then Slime's beat here is late, I want to say, but he's wall riding, so the cast time's going to be really long. So Slime is wall riding in to get a boop, right? Or to get damage on the grav, and that means he cannot beat. You see him actually press Q. He does press Q late, to be fair, but even if he beats up here, it's still pretty likely one of these two people die, because he has to drop all the way to the ground to actually get the beat off. So execution's bad. Old economy of this is fine. Beating a grav here, or beating a shatter here if it hits that much of your team is fine. Positioning and planning were both bad. He was not at all in the mindset of he needed to beat this fight. You can tell from how he was wall riding. That's like worst case scenario too for Titans. They use both support ults, they use shatter, grav, rally, and they lose the fight. I'm not talking about rallies that much, unless I think that they are impactful in the way you should be using the other support ults. Mostly because I'm not a Brig player, I'm a main support, and I have spent significantly less time thinking about and worrying about how to use rally versus how to use beat and trance. So I feel less qualified to talk on the optimal ways to use rally.
Another one, and we usually see teams hold on to these ultimates a little bit longer, right? Like they'll use them. When Super dies, they use the Graviton Surge right away. Sinatraa tosses that in there. They're able to extend that fight. Super comes back. It's a huge Earth Shatter to keep the point going there.
There's also a lot of things, sorry, you can do with rally that you can't just easily tell from like a spectator POV. Like you can use rally to get space, you can use rally to get pressure off a choke, you can use rally to force bubbles so you're favored in a neutral, you can use rally to look for a boop engage, you can use, like, it's a way more flexible ult than every other ult in the comp.
Huge first fight. That's just the first fight of this game. The Shock already up at 60% and counting.
So Violet is trance here. So Violet's going to either trance if someone's going to die, or he's going to trance to counter grav. Rascal's one, Choyobin's one, Sinatra's one. I would trance here. So I think he's already waited too long to trance, maybe. Sinatraa also, does he bubble the Zen? So he bubbles Rein, but Rein still dies. So maybe his bubble should have been later to save him. Violet's trance here is still fine, right? He tranced before anybody dies. Execution was fine. Ult economy plan, he kind of had to trance, even though he would rather save it for grav, so that's also fine. Yeah. Twilight trances the enemy grav. How early does he trance it? Okay, Twilight's trance is also fine. Like, they're getting graved, they're also engaging onto a grav, they're comboing, they need to win this fight. I think Twilight's trance is fine. Yeah. He bubbles D.Va. It's not just fucked up. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. Either way. Ideally, you have bubbles up. You bubble the tanks who are closest to the D.Va bomb, meaning the Zarya and the Rein, and the trance seals everybody up through all the normal damage. But unlucky if you bubble D.Va. Bumper wasted slam. That's fine. Not worried about Reinhardt ults. Only worried about support ults. If I was worried about every ult, this review would take me like 6 hours. And that is too much time. To be quite honest. So Shock, after losing that fight, which is super unfortunate for them, they're retaking with beat versus beat, pretty much both up. So I wouldn't want to engage with beat here. I'd want to use it to like counter engage some pressure.
One more fight would essentially give them the win on this map if they can win it.
They're trying to build some ultimates here. That's what they're trying to do.
Super just Giga Chads and, you know, just shatters the enemy team. Okay.
That is huge. Zombie Slayer twice.
They beat to engage on the shatter because they don't want to be scared of dying. That's like reasonable, like that's fine. It's not the optimal way I think to use beat, but I think it's fine value.
All knocked to the ground. Slime
Titans counter beat.
sound barrier off. Just
Shock do a good job disengaging the beat, so now they traded beat for beat and shatter for nothing.
Bumper is knocked back. Now forward into the Shock's lineup. He goes down. Finally going to give us a little bit low. Bumper is knocked back. Now forward.
Good trance here. Super's low, Rascal's low. Violet knows they are trying to win this fight. They already have advantage.
Into the Shock's lineup.
And he trances to make sure everybody stays alive. Fine trance, good execution, good positioning, good planning, good old economy. Only reason you could say it's maybe not good old economy is if he didn't need to trance here, he'd rather save it for the Grav. But I think that with the health of Super, and especially considering how the first fight went, trancing here is fine.
Lineup. He goes down. Finally going to go with the Transcendence late in the fight. The Shock are looking very good. The Titans are now down to half a squad, and they cannot contest. They will give the point back to the Shock. And now San Francisco very close to
And
the
Janu out of position here. You see him fly up on Sinatra's screen. He's very low. No healers here for the Titans to get him all healed up. He's going to have to be the one that touches.
Janu has to throw himself in there. The mech is destroyed, but he at least can still stay
Both teams rally, it's whatever.
effective. When he's not inside his mech, but it'll have
It's a
to
Grav.
Super gets grabbed,
It's a counter Grav. Twilight trances the Grav. I think that's a good play.
Now it's fired back at the Titans. Where the Transcendence keeps him alive. Both Reinhardts are down. Both teams at 5
Insane.
players. Both missing their main tanks. Sinatra versus Sominsu. The 1v1 happening on the left side of your screen. Looking for kills. Playing so aggressively. Self-destruct from Chuikoven. It forces the Titans away. Doesn't find a kill though. Slime has gone down. Janu's missing. Sominsu.
Okay, so I think the first trans from both Zens were bad. I think Twilight's was a lot worse than Violet's because Twilight was in the wrong position, had the wrong plan, bad ult economy, and bad execution, whereas Violet had the right play for ult economy, the right positioning, the right plan, but just had bad execution for that map at least. But that was still only one bad support ult. There were a couple of questionable attributes in some of the beats, but I don't think that any of them were big enough to warrant making a deal out of. So far, both Lucios with their beats have been really good. Tomorrow tank ults. Okay, so my concern with doing any other, I am not confident in my ability to analyze tank ult usage properly. From like a meta analysis way, maybe in a sense of ult economy, positioning, and planning. But I feel a lot less qualified to discuss the execution and when it may or may not be right mid-fight to use a tank ult. Whereas I feel very confident in my ability to do that with support ults. So if I did that, I would want someone else who is playing main tank in Overwatch League to be with me doing that. But that's why I'm trying to right now stick to only support ults, because that is my sphere of competence as far as mid-fight ult usage. And like the macro ult usage I think I'm also very good at, but I would miss specifics about tank ults that I am not comfortable doing in a review like this.
B, if they're able to get the payload all the way. So they go with a Reinhardt on B.
If that makes sense in the fucking convoluted way I said it.
Because it's instant more mobile, right? And if you don't have that mobility, you can come in with a lot of damage dealers. The Shock, though, they want to fight them Reinhardt on Reinhardt.
Look at how quickly they claim this high ground. The Shock. More than just bluff and blunder as they move in and deal a lot of damage.
So Moth and Slime are equal, Violet and Twilight.
But
Twilight's
realize
about 10 ahead.
already pretty perched, you have pole position.
Moth starts getting ahead.
From here. Looks like Super wants to transition to the low ground first. Sinatra stays up on high. The Shock
Violet equalizes.
a little bit here, and
Moth is
it's
still ahead.
this is the potential
Moth is now really ahead.
damage done. They forge ahead, but disengage rapidly as they realize they've taken more damage than they thought they would. Big Earthshaker
I'm like,
on one. The Titans,
what is that,
3
Super?
players knocked to the ground. They couldn't
How does Super hit? Sorry, I know it's not about tank ults. Super shatters 3 people, and somehow no one dies. Like, that is insane to me.
Earthshatter, another one. The Titans, 3 players.
Oh my god. Good job by Titans, I guess, but insane. And Slime now gets ult before Moth, even though he was so far behind because he got to heal amp all the low HP people after Super shattered. So once again, just to show like the ult percentage, like balance thing. Haxel's ahead in Rally, then Rascal Bumper's ahead or behind in Shatter than Super by like 25% realistically. And Slime has ult over Moth because of that 25% Reinhardt ult difference, pretty much.
Percentage on the point. The Shock getting very close to taking that first tick. They do.
Rallying first is really good. If you have like all 3 support ults, you almost always want to rally first. I think always. I think always actually might be the correct term. Almost always is like close, but. Okay, so we've a trance, a beat. Let's see if Slime beats. Okay, so we have literally every support ult used this fight. So let's go back and talk about the sequence, if the positioning was good, and all that stuff.
They're weak. They have to back up here, so they're giving up percentage on the point.
Did Slime and peel the Shatter? Yeah.
The Shock getting very close to taking that first tick. They do.
Rally, engage, bash Zarya, good. Force Zarya bubble, almost kill her, good. Force break E2, good. Twilight gets chunked. What hits him? Moth hits him a bit, but not that much. I think he takes a headshot from someone. Blinky is hosting my stream with 1 viewer. Wow. Thank you. I don't know how Twilight got chunked there. I really don't. Like, why does he just take half his HP? Does Violet hit him? Okay. I need to rewatch it again. Sorry. This is important to how I feel about the ults that get used. Body shot, headshot. Okay. And he trances from a body shot headshot. Dude, Twilight did not need to trance here. He wasn't even at risk of dying. The only way he dies is if Moth like quad headshot, then hits him with some body shots and boot melees him. So like, I don't know. Execution, I guess it's bad because he's not trancing for a reason. Positioning, I guess, is fine, but not really, right? Because he was in a position where he felt like his trance got forced. Planning, this doesn't look planned, so there was definitely no planning. And ult economy, it's not the end of the world, but you'd much rather have it for this grab that Sinatraa has in 9%. Violet counter trances because he's worried he's split and super is low. Probably a little early, but ult economy and planning wise, it's not terrible. Positioning wise, it's pretty terrible because he was out of position and had a trance to get back. Even ult economy wise, again, it's not great because now Sominsu has a grab that's going to be a problem. I would rather beat here than trance, one of the rare situations, because you want to be able to trance the grab. Granted, it's almost impossible to call that in the middle of a team fight like this. But from like an overhead ideal perspective, you would rather use beat here in a vacuum. But I don't blame anyone for not using beat here because it's like a very, very hard situation in the middle of a fight to swap your support ults because the risk of accidentally stacking support ults is terrible. What does it mean for a Zen player and Owl when trance or grab are desynced? They're desynced, and that's not good. It's not terrible. You can normally get like 2 trances per grab. By the way, if you have a question, reminding everybody, at me with it, because if I read everything in chat, I will lose focus. So, at me with the questions. I will read them. I might not reply to them, but I will read them. Yeah. Even though you play main support on your team when tracking ults, you seem to have the hardest time tracking Lucio ult. Because you never know if he's actually healing that much. What are ways to track Lucio ult better? How did fights go? Were they fast? Were they slow? Was there a lot of AoE damage? Was there a lot of single target damage? If there was a lot of AoE damage and your Reinhardt has ult, they're probably closer to beat. If your Zarya has ult and she was right clicking, they're probably close to beat. If your Zarya was like left clicking a D.Va to build her ult, they're probably not as close to beat. And then you just pay attention to all the little things. And over time, you stop consciously paying attention to the little things and you start having feelings about whether or not they have ults, and those end up being a lot better on the fly decision making rather than like trying to process some giant sheet of variables in your head and being like, oh well, my Reinhardt has 50% ult, so that means Lucio's 30% on beat. Like, especially in Goats meta, you can have a 20-30% fault difference and that's fine, but just being consistent about it is what matters. What are the best ways to avoid panic trancing? Don't get panicked. Boom. Or, to be honest, the real way to do it is have a very clear idea in your head. What am I doing with my ult this fight? That goes for Lucio, that goes for Zen. And if you're unsure ever if you're supposed to ult, if it's not that one thing you decided on, you'd never ult. Because there's no way, if you're unsure, any of your team knows you're doing it. The difference with that is if you go, I'm going to trance when my Rein get, or like, here's an example. They have Rally and they have Grav, and we don't know they have Grav. We only think they have Rally, and we call they're going to Rally engage, and my plan as Zen is I want to Discord their Brig, right? Trance and go aggro on their Brig. That's my plan with my ult. But they Grav us. Everyone on the team knows, because it's just a common sense thing, we're no longer going to use our trance to counter engage the Rally. We're going to trance the Grav. So that's a moment where you don't need to have any doubt because it's very clear what the right play is. But if they have Shatter and they shatter your Zarya, that's a moment where you go, I don't know if I'm supposed to trance here. Maybe I'm supposed to trance here. And then there's like a lot of outside factors, like at what part is it in the map are you allowed to lose this fight? Can you maybe save your Zarya just with Brig E? And in those situations, it's a lot safer not to trance. Maybe, though, in your head, you're going to say, like, I'll trance to counter Shatter or to counter Grav. And then your team knows if someone gets shattered, the play is to protect them and make sure the trance can save them. So it's a lot about just being confident in not only your ability to press Q at the right time, but also having a solid idea of how you're going to use the ult before going into the fight. Okay, let's get back to these ults. So Violet, out of position. Execution's probably a bit early, but he's out of position, so the execution's wishy-washy anyway. Planning's not great. I don't really know why he's trancing. Ult economy's not great. They almost have Grav. So if you lose your Zarya, you have 6-7% chance of winning a team fight. Right, but for winning a map, it's sometimes a lot more important to save trance for Grav than it is to trance to save a Zarya. Because even if you trance save Zarya and they wait and then they Grav you and you lose, now you've managed to lose a fight where trance traded for Grav, and you pretty much just lost it to a Shatter. So it's the exact same thing as losing it to a Shatter anyway, except for you're using your trance, and they're using their Grav. So it's literally the same thing, other than the fact that they're now snowballing with high energy, building another Grav, and you aren't in position to build another trance. So it's like, I get why it makes sense to use it, but in a lot of situations, in an overall map, it's actually not worth it to use it. And that's one of I think the hardest things when planning ult economy, especially in this meta. It's so snowbally. Okay, so we have two trances going on. Violet trance second, Twilight trance because he was out of position. It's kind of it. Both Zens tranced when the enemy Zarya had Grav up when they didn't need to, which is really bad. Now someone whose Grav comes out, and because Violet's trance is over, Moth has to beat it. Beats probably a bit early. Sinatra dies, obviously, because they have no trance on the Grav. He just gets shot, and Super's not shielding for some reason. Is his shield broken? Yeah, his shield breaks. Okay, so it's not Super's fault. And Sinatra grabs Vancouver, but he's dead. Someone's alive. Slimesby comes out with a little bit better timing, I want to say. And then the Shatter from Bumper seals it. But you lost one fight instead of losing the next fight as well. No, okay, but see, here's the thing. So in a neutral, okay, hold up. I'm not sure if you're being sarcastic, but now I'm going to re-explain it because I feel like you're being serious. So let's break down a fight. Shock, Cap, first point, Numbani here, right? They're going into second. They're going into the first fight in second. Zarya has Grav, and Rein has Shatter. And we're just going to ignore every other ult. We're going to make it as simple as possible. They have only Shatter Grav. And on Vancouver, they have only Trance. Okay? If Super shatters your Zarya, and you Trance to save your Zarya, and the fight turns into a bit of a brawl, they grab you, kill you. Not only do they get a ton of ult percentage from killing you all, their Zarya also remains at 100 energy, which means come the next fight, you cannot play slow because your Zarya is at 0 energy and their Zarya is at 100 energy. And she will just completely destroy your shield, farm Grav way faster. You can no longer take a slow fight because their Zarya is so charged. If your Zarya gets shattered and you make the call to just leave, you just use amp speed, they can't catch you because you're the same speed, you run away, you let your Zarya die, whatever. You lose the fight to shatter, but you still have Trance, your Zarya still has some energy, and their Zarya is no longer going to be farming her Grav in this neutral fight and giving them more advantage than they already have. So it is really close, and some fights you can Trance and save her and it's fine, but it's really close. It's not, my only point is it's never as clear cut as just Trance the Shatter. Like, she could get pinned in Discord and then she dies anyway, unless you like counterpin the Rein or bash to counterpin the Rein. So it's like, it's a really tough call, and very few people are qualified to make that decision, to be honest. That's, most of them are in Overwatch League, if not all of them. It's also awkward because a lot of the times your Zarya is calling for you to save her, right? Because your Zarya is like, oh shit, I got shattered, help me, help me, help me. Or trance me, trance me, trance me. And then you're stuck in the position of you have to say, no, you're dying, we're backing up. Yeah. But yeah, okay, that's my tangent. Moving on. That fight, a lot of support ults got used. The only support ult I was happy with that fight was Slime's beat. Both Slime's beat and Moth's beats had good intentions. Slime's timing was better. It's kind of it. Moth's timing wasn't terrible, but it could have been better. And Twilight and Violet both had bad trances.
With a self-destruct here, and then you're gonna have Super with another shatter. Already earned a second.
He called the Titans off guard with that previous Earth Shatter, stunning half of their team.
Okay, I'm sorry. How much ult charge did Twilight? How much ult charge did Twilight just get? He's at 80? 95? Okay.
Getting that one past Bumper's shield. It's Bumper's job to block these Earth Shatters.
It's a cool idea for this rotation.
She only gets stronger as her energy charges up. Late in the fight is where she really does it damage. Super's done it again. Look at this aggressive play, but it might have worked against him this time. Jokovic tries to drop in.
Okay, so I saw it's one trance. It's the only support ult that's going to get used, so let's go back and look at it. So let's talk about Super's play too, because I think this is an interesting thing. So he shatters who? He shatters Janu and Sominsu. Okay? He then gets stunned though, because his team is not really with him. His team's going over here and doing this thing, so he's like kind of alone. Twilight drops off high ground because he's going to get ready to trance, and they're all focusing Super. So like, Shock are not with Super at all. I don't know why. Twilight trances. Does he trance because someone gets low, or does he trance because of the Diva Bomb? Okay, he trances because someone's who's going to die. So that's a good trance. Good trance, good timing, good positioning. He held it until he knew Sominsu actually needed it, so it was really good by Twilight all around.
His Transcendence. As you can see at the top of your screen, Violet getting very close to his own at 93%. You'll have Transcendence and Rally here to open things up for the San Francisco Shocks. So that Brigitte ultimate to provide the armor. The Zenyatta one to keep everybody topped up after. We'll see if they usually use the Rally of Rascal to engage, so you'll use that to start a fight, and then later you're going to want to use that Transcendence.
So we'll know when the Shock take
There they go.
because they use that Rally. You hear it right now.
Both teams rally. It's just parity.
But it's been broken down. Only about 600 health on it. He's knocked to the low ground here. The rest of the Titans have to join him. They cannot stay up there and face the full fury of the San Francisco Shock. Bumper playing back very passively here, which is uncharacteristic, but he needs to keep his team shielded up.
Twilight and Slime are both building ults reasonably quick. They transgrav. Moth did a good job not getting stuck in the grav. Twilight doesn't actually have trance yet, and the counter grav comes out. Twilight dies. But Super dies and the shatter is huge. Okay, hold up. Violet's trance was fine, he tranced grav. Twilight gets caught in the grav, which is unlucky, but he's really close to building his own, so it's like not that bad. It's like not great, but it's fine. Super goes for a pin, gets stunned out of a pin by Haxel, and then flailed away from Choyobin, and then he dies. That's unlucky. Yeah, I mean, good shatter by Bumper at the end. And now Titans have both support ults up again. Good trance from Twilight, it was needed. Can't believe Slime got behind the wall there. Beat is fine because it's like you're up so many, you're just doing it so no one dies. It's not really a massive thing. Okay, so out of that entire attack from Shock, I think I was unhappy with the first two trances from the first one from Violet, the first one from Twilight. I thought the first beat from Moth was a bit early, but it was still like good thought process and good execution, just like literally a second or two early, so it's not that big of a deal. And then for all the other support ults, I think they were good. Just all around good support ults. I guess the other trances were also a bit early. Yeah. Why is Troy so far away from the team here? I don't know, but I'll be honest. I don't really care, because that's not what I'm focusing on at the moment. But probably some reason.
So the Titans, they don't even need to unlock the payload and move it all the way the distance down the map. They just need to better the Shock in terms of percentage there on that first point. Which you would think is likely. The Shock's attack was not great there. They had no ultimates towards the end. So there's nothing they could really do to swing that fight in their favor. But a few fights where Bumper hit some big earth shatters really swung it in the Titans' favor.
This is the reward that
Violet transferred away because he wasn't going to be able to get through the corridor getting body blocked by Titans.
Well, for losing, I guess. It's going to be great. I'm excited. But first, swinging the mace. It's a flail, I suppose, as a trainer. Excuse me. Medieval weapon aficionados. So all of the Shock playing very close to the doorway. You see, they know the Titans were going to initially attempt to take the high ground. They wanted to make sure they had no openings to do so. Now they drop down. Yeah. This will force the Titans to rotate to the high ground. Now the Shock have to be quick and meet them at the door once more. Otherwise, this has failed for them.
So the pressure here is on the Shock.
They got it.
So unlucky.
Early, so you lose the ability to disengage here if you're
That was a really good counter rotation from Shock.
Speed boost you provide. So a lot of these heroes not able to make it out. Hold on to their lives. You see some cleanup kills going in favor of the Shock. Pressure on the Shock though, because they've really one fight decides this for the Titans. So you're going to have to see the Shock invest some of these ultimates rather early, which allows the Titans to stockpile on Violet. You're going to have to and use them in one big fight to steamroll.
How long will this patience from the Titans last? At what point will they...
Interesting. Slime died early, but they're both, Slime and Moth are still the same ult percent.
Looks like again, they try and fake a rotation to the low ground. You can see them here. They realize the Shock aren't biting, so they have to commit. They're going to push through the main entrance here, which is quite perilous with the Shock all assembled on the high ground and in safe position to do
Violet, Twilight, both at 90. Huge shatter from Super, fights over.
The main damage source now for the Vancouver Titans is AWOL. And Slime is on the high ground trying to find the kill. He does get Violet. So the Shock are made to bleed. Now, all they've got is
and win that fight. You're staring down the barrel of the same thing that happened to the Shock. You're looking at like 35 seconds with nothing.
They come out high ground with Rally first. It's trance feed trance. Shock still have Rally.
Titans now known for being so aggressive right now. All they've got is Bark.
Haxel's dropped alone. How is he not dead? Unlucky.
Scrambled to try and surround and protect him. Trying to go very low as he moved to the high ground here. That's a Graviton Surge
Good trance from Violet. It wasn't super early in the grab, but it was still enough to save everybody in it. Don't know why Twilight trance. I'll check it a bit. Beat. Does Moth beat this fight? He does. Okay, that's the end of the fight, so let's go back. So let's see how needed the first trance actually was. Okay, the trance is early. I lied. Violet's trance is too early here. Everybody's full HP. Like, I mean, I can go back 1 second if you want to see before he tranced everybody also being full HP, but I would rather trance the grab once people get lower or when a pin is incoming, rather than when he does. Full HP. Full HP. He just trances. Full HP. So yeah, I don't really like that much. It's a little early. That's it. Why does Twilight trance? Bumper is super low. Okay, Twilight trances because he thinks Bumper's gonna die. That's respectable. I think that's fine. Sinatraa grabs. Chobin goes for the bomb. Shatter hits only Sinatraa. Super goes to pin someone out of the grab, but he pins the trancing Zen. So the bomb gets blocked. Slime also beats to try to keep people alive, although Chobin placed his Diva Bomb so well that the beat would not save Brig, but would probably save everyone else. But the Rhine Shield blocks all of it because Super pinned the Zen. Those are all the support ults that got used that fight. I guess Moth beats later, but once Sinatra's dead, the fight's really just over. Like, sure, the Shatter's nice, but the fight's over. Like, Moth beats as soon as he gets it. Great. Somehow Super actually doesn't get the beat. But yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. Top 3 Zens in order in the game, be honest. Well, for obvious reasons, I will exclude Fusion and Fusion Uni because I have a clear bias there. I'd probably say JJoNak, Twilight, Violet as far as all-around Zen players. But a caveat on that, and the reason JJoNak is on top, is Violet and Twilight have not proven themselves in a non-GOATS meta. And in GOATS meta, you have a lot more space to work with as a Zenyatta player than most other metas. JJoNak has proven himself in those other metas. So I would be excited to see Twilight and Violet how they work in other metas too. I do think that Twilight is like the next person who people would consider to be the best Zen. Well, I would obviously say I'm excluding Fusion and Fusion Uni because obviously then I'm not going to be unbiased. So to be unbiased, I need to exclude them. Okay. Map 3. Anubis. More goats v goats. Best main support players flexing his Zen on short notice. That's a weird question. Oh yeah, sound.
The Shock, they're going to push in here towards the left, use the Lucio speed boost.
What are they? They're trying to
double
fake.
back.
I like that.
Slime almost just dies to a right click.
Try and fake.
Notice, because of the right click, Slime now has more ult than Moth. Even though they literally had 0 different impact in that fight. How crazy is that?
They now are perched above the point. They've gotten through 2 very perilous choke points that otherwise they would have probably taken a lot of damage even trying to get here. But now they begin to capture the point. Now the Titans have to play like their attackers. The roles have been switched. The Titans have to get the Shock off the point. Otherwise, point A will be done for already. In that back corner, you can see Violet on that Zenyatta trying to do as much damage as he can. Bumper is forced.
So Violet's a lot closer to Trance. Like, I mean, 16%, but that's a lot. That's like 2 shots.
The Shocker winning out in these early damage trades, and the big bodies, the durable figures on the Titans have to be very
Twilight
careful.
catches
They're
up.
low on
Twilight
health
passes him.
currently, but so is Sonata,
Oh, Violet, get your trance.
and he's taken down. That might be now the floodgates opening up, and it
Dude, how does Twilight get trance faster than you, Violet? Hold up. Let's go back here.
is done for.
Only 10%.
In that back corner, you can see Violet on that Zenyatta trying to do as much damage as
16, 15%.
and Bumper is forced to sheepishly back up with the rest of his team. The Shocker winning out in these early damage trades, and the big bodies, the durable figures on the Titans have to be very careful. They're low on
That's crazy. Unlucky, though.
currently,
I know.
but so
Twilight
is
gets
Sonata,
trance up.
and he's taken
He trances after Sinatra dies, so do we think this trance is good?
down. That might
Trances on Haxel, Janu, Slime. I think this trance is good because if like Super's Fire Strike hits Janu, Haxel, he does one swing, kills both of them. Rascal keeps him alive. It's pretty possible that then you would lose because Violet would be able to trance and would be a lot closer. But yeah. I don't actually. I think the trance is fine.
the transcendence out for Twilight as the Titans now shift into high gear. And now with Rascal and Super down, the Titans had to wait for it.
Okay,
but they
that's
do putting up
one way to ult.
and it is
You lose Zarya. The enemy team trances. You lose Rein. You then trance in a 4v6 where they're trancing. This has so far been the worst trance of the series. Unlucky.
And now with Rascal and Super down, the Titans had to wait for it, Matt. But they do get the Shock off the point and they send them back to square one.
I do some overall reviews of matches. I don't know how to say your name. I'm trying to say I get it's orange juice, but with OO, and it's just hard for my brain to say out loud. Was he trying to save? I mean, he was probably trying to save Super with that, but your Zarya is already dead. You don't trance in a 5v6 ever, and he also tranced after he it's like the first trance on Village. It's as bad as the first trance on Village, except for you didn't get grabbed. You just pressed it anyway. But yeah, I mean, I review occasionally. It's mostly when I feel like it, because a lot of my time is Overwatch League stuff. So I also don't want to be reviewing and giving out strats in a meta where it's still relevant, if that makes sense. So like, I don't want to review and be like, oh, here's like some secrets to the meta, and then everybody's like, wow, and then it turns out that that helped some other team. Can I review gameplay from Alarm? Probably not. I don't see a reason to ever review a stream game. I don't think they're comparable in any setting. I've reviewed Fusion Uni matches before. I think you can find one of my reviews on Jane's YouTube channel at the moment of Fusion Uni, where I probably talk about Alarm a bit, but okay. Either way, Violet's trance, absolutely atrocious that fight. That's unlucky.
Yeah, 88% there for the Shock, so it's a good first attack. The problem is, though, they use their
Am I enjoying
transcendent
Baptist?
in
Not out
order
in
to
comp.
get to that
I'm not
because
scrimming
they're
yet.
trying to keep
Haven't
them,
actually seen
potentially
Baptist
trying
play
to
in a
keep
scrim
Super
yet.
up. And at that point, when you lose Sinatra, your big damage dealer.
I'm pretty sure that's the only one up on that channel. I have a YouTube channel. It's super scuffed and not unset up right now, but there's also a finals review from Contenders on there. But I'm still in the process of getting a place where I can easily have my reviews accessible in some form of VOD.
It's tough, and you use that transcendence just as Super dies, so you get no value out of it whatsoever.
On the upside, the Titans also use their transcendence.
Rally to engage, rally to counter engage. They both just chill.
So they won't be traded out. What?
Super hard carried this fight. However, assuming Super didn't shatter the entirety of Vancouver Titans, Violet not having trance here just lost in this fight.
Super shatters the enemy team as they try and follow up on the Graviton.
But Super massively carried, so
Just as we saw
Violet's
on the
mistake
ball
gets glossed over.
time, his team gets caught up. He sends the shatter down. Now the Titans are on the back foot. Being forced into the rear of the point here. You can see the sound arrow
There were
now.
also
Both
2
sides
beats
using
that came
the
out.
shield through a
This
shot
Twilight
block.
Trance.
The fight reaches fever pitch. Moth is the first casualty. And now the Titans
No. So let's go back. Let's look at the beats.
Good job.
Bomb comes out. They disengage. Move. Thank you for gifting a 2-1 sub to Orange. That's all I'm gonna be able to say for that name.
Perfect response, just as we saw on Nepal. Every time
Still no
he
beat.
gets caught up, he sends the shatter down. Now that
Okay, so Moth is beating to engage. I kind of like this. The thought process here, I guess, is if we beat to engage and we instantly get a kill, we win. If we beat to engage and they counter with a support ult, then we can grab Diva Bomb. And we're already low, so beating is like kind of okay. So I like the execution, I like the positioning, I like the idea. Big beat, big grab. Slime counter beats, totally reasonable. And they're just split. Like, who are they on? Sinatra's on. Like, this is the real issue in this fight. They're so split on targets, it's actually crazy. Like, this grab has 0 follow-up, even though it got Brig and Zarya, like, 2 of the best targets to grab. Twilight gets pinned, but because he is beat, he doesn't die. Moth gets pinned, but Moth doesn't have beat anymore, and Moth dies. So both beats were fine. Just the teams, respectively, Shock played significantly worse in that fight than Titans did.
to propel them forward, they have to back away once more, and the Titans just keep getting stronger.
The Titans, man, holding on.
He's trying to get close to Bumper to boop him, especially with beat. The only way you ever die there is if he solo. The only way you ever die there in that fight as Moth is if you get solo shattered into pinned, and like that's not even the worst value for him. It's like his positioning was fine.
There's no risk.
Trying to get out. Yeah, there's no risk in that scenario.
There's a good, 10 or so seconds that you need to wait to respawn. So there was actually no one left from the Shock. Now they're reappearing in their spawn area, pushing out.
So with this much time left, what the Shock could do is they could use that Brigitte ultimate of Rascal, the rally, to engage. Maybe that forces Hacksaw to use his rally. Then you see Sominsu check out his Graviton Surge. Look at the Zabi answer by Transcendent. So here's the rallies from both sides.
Again, both teams just have parity with rallies. Both teams have trance.
The Bumper and Super Fight.
You see Slime boop Super away, so they go for the shatter play. Violet gets shattered, but Rascal blocks it for himself. Violet. It's not. This one's not really Violet's fault. This one's a fault of execution, I guess. But like, it's the right time to grab. It's the right positioning to grab. It's the right trance. Sorry, it's the right positioning to trance. Ult economy to trance. Plan to trance. He just got shattered and couldn't trance, and then spammed Q as hard as he could. And as soon as he got up, he tranced, and it was too late. So. Yeah, unlucky. That one's not like that one's his fault, but it's not. It's not one you ever like look at and try to fix. I don't know. It's like it's more unfortunate than his fault.
And Sinatra has this Graviton Surge, but what do you have to combo with it? You don't have that self-destruct right now. It's going to be having to keep Sinatra alive. And all that damage combined with Super to push through. Transcendence again for Twilight on the other side, though. Building up that Zenyatta ultimate in less than a minute.
He's going to need that Transcendence because the
Twilight still has his trance. Slime's really close to his beat.
To take this point, 22 seconds remain in the round. Sinatra must connect with this Graviton Surge. It must be a gainful exchange of ultimate abilities. Getting a player advantage early in the fight would be big. The Shock taking their time. 10 seconds left.
And they're just trying to bait him to just solo grab Bumper there on the point. To just use that ultimate, only connect with that main tank.
Look at the number below his aiming reticle. Sinatra's not charged up very much. He's not doing a lot of damage.
It's a good grab. Zarya Zen.
Twilight, though, simply using
Twilight does have to trance there. His positioning possibly could be questionable, but I think it's fine overall. One sec. Pop. I think it's fine overall. His trance at least.
his Transcendence to keep Sominsu alive. The only player
They Diva Bomb.
that was
Okay.
outside of him caught inside
Twilight gets shattered.
of that. Both teams with a
beat comes out a bit early because they were shattered. The Diva Bomb kills both of them because the beat came out a bit early. Violet counter trances the Grav. Shock winning this fight is so unreasonably lucky. So you can argue Twilight's positioning there was bad, that he had to trance that Grav. Like, he doesn't need to be pushing point right now. Or at best, he should be over here. He shouldn't be directly under the Zarya.
He's not doing a lot of damage, but he does land the Graviton Surge. Twilight, though, simply uses his Transcendence to keep Sominsu alive. The only player that was...
Okay, next fight.
So now they have about 4 minutes here to take point B, and they're going right away. They're going to get an early pickoff here on a Twilight.
That's huge. A player advantage so early.
And they're going right away. You know, they take point A, so now they have about 4 minutes here to take point B, and they're going...
Twilight gets right-clicked by Violet and eats some body shots to Moth and just dies.
They're going to get an early pickoff here on a Twilight.
That's huge. A player advantage so early on in the fight. The San Francisco Shock trying to convert the momentum they built up on point A.
Moth has beat if they need it.
So far, Sinatra is well charged up. He'll have another Graviton Surge available quite soon. Bumper's in trouble. He's down. The Discord Orb applied by Violet made it hard for him to stay alive. And now Sinatra in a great position to receive Janu. The defense matrix doesn't mitigate.
They don't even need beat. Even if he beats, it doesn't matter. 100% win this fight. They stack support ult, so I mean that's not good, obviously. Violet should always trance there. Moth should never beat, but if Moth didn't know Violet had trance, then Moth already called he was going to beat. There's like some communication stuff there that's wishy-washy, but stacking support ults is almost always the wrong play. Pretty, yeah. Pretty impressive that Shock actually completed that map, considering how it started for them.
These overtime scenarios early on in the season, playing a little bit
200-bit tier PogChamp.
Crazy overtime scenario, they come out on top. Just that experience they gained throughout stage 1.
Super standing on the awning there as Ryan.
Oh, I wanted to point this out because I thought it was super smart from Super. If he's on top of these, they can't speed and pressure him because they can't bash him, and his angle is like way better. So like this is an insanely smart spot to stand. Yeah.
You can't really be hit by the Titans until they push through this choke. It's a great opportunity for the Shock to get free, unanswerable damage.
And when he uses it, when he puts the shield up, he can actually see the players coming through. So
we can see around the corner. Janu a little bit low here, and he's a little bit overextended. He gets back to the rest of his team just in time. It looks like the Shock weren't focusing.
Twilight's a bit ahead, but not by much. Slime is very ahead right now.
Keep an eye on that health bar. He went down early beforehand, and it almost cost them everything. On the high ground, Shrikoven is chased off. Sinatra gets
Bumper just dies.
Yes, Sominsu is up there on the high ground in the back, but it doesn't matter. They've lost their Reinhardt. Now it's very hard for the Titans.
Twilight's a little ahead.
Damage from long range, but Super has fallen. Slime dealt with him now, and the pressure's starting to get to
The first ult up this fight was Sominsu's Grav. Insane. A lot of ults were close, but that's pretty insane. Cap the point.
Okay. Matt, they got a very important first pick, but it didn't seem to help them much as the fight continued.
you know, Sominsu behind enemy lines is just doing...
Where is the crosshair for Zarya? What?
So much damage. He's able to demech
Strange.
Shoyobin, so didn't have that big diva mech. And then he's all charged up and he's behind just launching those Zarya alternate fires. Just a big explosive grenade.
And look at that. With that 4-minute extension, the Titans are up to 6 minutes and 20 seconds.
So, some ultimates here, though, for the Shock to use, though. So it's not all doom and gloom for the Shock. 6 minutes on the clock for Vancouver. But you see right there, a big Graviton Surge connects with everybody.
Trancing Grav, good value. Good play.
Keep the Titans alive despite the weight of ultimates that are being leveraged against them. Bumper, I know what he's looking for. He wants a big Earth Shatter. He wants to flank and catch the Shock by surprise. He has it ready now. He's waiting for an opportunity to use it. The Shock are a little bit split. If they don't take refuge behind Super's shield, and if Super doesn't have his shield up, they're all going to be knocked down. But Super's missing now. The perfect time for the Titans to spring forth. Transcendence now.
Shock stack support ults again. I would have been okay with a single support ult. Using both is just bad. Why do Titans beat? Titans look like they beat to try to save Sominsu. The beat comes out after he dies. They don't really beat to save Sominsu. They lose Sominsu and then realize they probably have to beat to win the fight. So I think that's okay.
Shock were able to pick themselves back up and avoid the blast. And now with a couple of players on the point, the Shock can keep this point contested. The Titans cannot accrue capture progress while there are Shock players.
Good trance. Saves Bumper.
Have to throw everything at this one. Super Earthshatter into Graviton Surge. Sinatra's right there. There's a lot of damage coming from the Shock right now.
Still lose the fight too. Goddamn.
Missing once more. And at times when we push back without getting any
Yeah, the fight wouldn't have been close if Shock didn't stack support ults. Instead, they had to grab Shatter at the end of it.
Mitch, I mean, it's towards the end where you see Super use the Shatter, and then the grab comes through from Sinatra. But the play is made by Moth. Bumper actually connects the really nice Earth Shatter, but Moth actually, using the wall riding Lucio, goes off the pole, then uses the boop to displace him and just pushes him which way open, over the side, so you're not able to get that big Reinhardt follow through.
That's huge.
It's a
Getting
big play.
knocked onto the low ground as Reinhardt is so frustrating because you are not mobile. Your only ability
No
that
way for him
gives
to get back up.
The only ability that gives you more mobility is a charge that you're committed to, and you can't defend yourself whilst charging. Reinhardt
So we have Trance and Beat again on defense pretty much versus only Beat on the attack. Twilight could build Trance this fight if it is a slow fight. They grab early. Moth booped there, which is huge to stop Bumper from being able to pin Super, and they Trance the grab. Good trade from Violet.
So that's an ult from the Titans that doesn't really get any value whatsoever. They're still where they started. 4 minutes and 20 on the clock. The Shock are
Now they have
close to being
Beat
in a
versus
position where
Beat.
they're ahead in time bank. Oh, there it is. It's a flanking shatter from Bumper. What a sneaky
What is that play?
breaks line of... Oh, there it is. It's a flank.
Good beat for Moth. He beats because his team just got shattered and they can't lose the fight. Good reaction time too, because like, what the fuck just happened?
What a sneaky
Not sure why Slime beats. Seems like it was a bit early. He wanted to beat so people could like follow up more aggressively and more freely on the shatter, but I still think it was too early considering everyone was full HP. If he had beat for this grab, or like post grab, it would be better. They again, Twilight transfers the grab. Good trade from Twilight. Like if you had beat for that push, it would have been way better. That's just kind of the end of it again.
Left corner on the Zenyatta. Amount of damage. That sounds so much damage. You cannot allow
So this
it to go
fight,
uncontested in the back
beats are
left corner.
equal.
Trade-offs.
Twilight will have trance up probably before the fight actually starts.
And his orbs take a lot of travel, so they're not easy to aim. Again, San Francisco trading some of that damage now. That is a big Graviton Surge, the bomb behind. Oh, Super's knocked away, but still no one's affected by the blast. Supercharges Bumper straight back into the pillar, and he finds him again. Really starting to
Okay,
flex
so
on
the
Bumper
idea
now.
behind this was good.
Graviton Surge.
Violet's trance very good. Obviously, trancing a grav, best value you can pretty much get out of the ult.
Bomb behind. Oh, Super's
Twilight also trances a grav, but Super is actually able to pin this time. Let's please appreciate here the fact why counter grabbing is so good. Shock counter grav, Shock win the fight. This is actually the best example of counter grabbing I can show, so I'm just gonna go through it, even though it's not the main focus. Counter grabbing means you are going to grab second in a fight after the enemy team grabs you. So in this instance, Shock get grabbed, they use trance to stay alive, Vancouver go to combo, Bumper goes to pin, but he gets counter grabbed. Like he couldn't pin because the grab stops his pin. Slime couldn't boop. Slime probably could have gotten a better boop off, to be fair, because the counter grab was a little late, but the concept is still you grab so they can't boop, they can't pin, they can't bash. And then because Vancouver have no grav to stop Super, Super just pins Bumper and Bumper dies, even though Vancouver are trancing. So very good play by Shock in that fight.
Who talked a big game about being the most aggressive, the most powerful main tank in the Overwatch League, but right now, he is being taken to task.
Look, I mean, if I had the Vancouver Titans schedule too, you could talk a pretty big game. Their opponent's win percentage throughout stage 1 is just 39%. They roll through stage 1, but they have the second easiest schedule of everybody in the league.
They didn't play every team in the league. They only had 7 matches in that regular stage. So it's just a slice of what is out there.
So beat versus beat, trances are pretty equal.
You know, at his best in a match like this. He's got another Shatter here coming online, so we'll see another battle of these Reinhardts. Shatter v Shatter.
Just around the corner here. He knows he's been spotted out, but he needs to wait for the rest of his team, and they don't need to peek out until they're ready to all run. They'll be taking unnecessary damage and allowing the Shock to accrue further ultimate.
Rally engage is pretty decent out of the choke here, just to buy spacing at room on point. Beat's good, saves Rascal, counter engage beat, so it forces Slime to beat here because of how. So when I say a counter engage beat, what I mean is that the enemy team is so overextended that your ult forces ults and they don't really have an option to disengage. So it's a counter engage beat in my mind here because Janu is pretty far up. Bumper is super deep, so Slime has to beat to save Bumper. I mean, Twilight Trances because they're up so many and they're just trying not to die. That's fine and whatever. Huge play by Sinatraa there, by the way, to grab Sominsu into the bomb. They might actually be able to retake this.
He's very vulnerable on the Zenyatta, but he's playing quite aggressively, riskily here, trying to find some damage and maybe even a kill. Bumper's low, he's down. Super has to trade out his life to take down the enemy main tank, but it might get them out of this sticky situation. Self-destruct is thrown in.
Huge play by Slime.
Slime who comes out of nowhere, and now Slime's looking for more, trying to chase Sinatraa away from the point. The Titans almost have 2/3 of capture progress right now, and they've got it.
Yeah, so support ults here were fine. I like the beats. I like the trance from Twilight, I guess it was kind of needed. It's probably a bit early, though. All in all, Shock should just, so far my opinion on this map is Shock should stop stacking support ults. Because that's happened too many times. And Violet's trances on their first point attack were pretty rough.
Will be triple tank, triple support with Reinhardt for both teams at the 4, and the Titans, they've one good fight, maybe two if they stretch it, but they have to go quick. They can't afford to dawdle.
Shock gonna play it the same way again. Super though out of position there.
Super gets exploded. Super's not out of position. His team backed up. Either his team shouldn't have backed up and he can play there, or they should all back up. But Super wasn't out of position in that fight. I mean, like, yes, I guess he kind of was, but it's like not. It's not being out of position in a traditional sense.
As well, the Vancouver Titans, their eye is on the prize and on point A. They've shoved the Shock off of it so much so that San Francisco cannot afford.
Generic, he's not talking about the Owl game. He's talking about, or he's not talking about the Contenders game. He's talking about the Owl game. And no, this is the only Overwatch game I've reviewed recently, and I'm reviewing it mostly just paying attention to how supports use their ults, explaining why they're using their ults, and how I judge their ults based on like the thought process I'd have in the situation, and also the macro perspective of overall ult economy and efficiency.
To try and contest this, they will
I don't think I would ever review a Fusion game on stream. That seems silly.
Titans to capture and hope that they can hold them off at point B.
And with winning this first fight, you do get closer towards your ultimates for Vancouver. So you see they'll go up to 3 points, 45 seconds here to attack point B.
They get a 30-second extension. It's not a lot of time, but it's enough to get them to point B and give them an opportunity to capture it. Once again, now Shock needs to
Supports are all pretty close to equal on ults. Twilight gets fucking super split, dude. Bumper just charges. Unlucky. Okay, I mean, it seems like it's it. I like the rally. The rally stops you from losing space and means you can probably touch point. Twilight's still close, Slime's still close, but Violet already is ult.
Fair warning, ladies and gentlemen, this will be a long fight. It will be drawn out. Titans will be throwing everything now to see what can stick, because overtime has begun.
Janu touches, loses mech. Big grab, good transfer from Violet. Bumper tries to pin, but again, a great counter grab from Sinatraa to stop that follow-up. Twilight trances the counter grab. People get shattered, so Moth beats. It's fine. Why did Slime beat? Slime beat the D.Va Bomb in the grab. As we can note by the fact that beat didn't wear off of a single player. Probably did not need the beat to survive the grab. So execution was good, plan was good, positioning was good. Ult economy-wise, it was an unneeded beat. Even though it's almost impossible to judge in the moment, definitely could have saved beat. So it's more of a thing you look at after, but I think that something a lot of Lucios were still trying to get used to are judging when you need to beat and when you don't to counter a Diva Bomb and a Grav. And I think that no one had played Goats enough, even by the end of stage 1, to be fully confident in when that's true. So I think that if you gave people more time, beats like this wouldn't happen, but I think it's unreasonable to expect people not to beat like this. See you, Duck. Yeah, good beat by Moth. Saves the people who got shattered. I'm sorry, they're getting ticks in this push? Bumper, go to the fucking grab, please. Oh, Bumper, if you sat in the grab and if Bumper sat in the grab and shielded, he saves both Slime and Twilight. Instead of going to YOLO shatter the enemy spawn door. It's unlucky. I mean, the fact they got any ticks is amazing in that fight, to be honest, but the end of that fight, the support ults, you just use them as you get them to try to get value, because it's the last fight of a map.
It's entirely the realm of possibility that the Shock get waterlogged and get completely stumped. 3 minutes and 28 seconds. Well, I mean, if that's the amount of time like for his team, and he did admirably. Now the Shock need to be as quick as the Titans were on their attack. Sinatra, everyone going straight forward here. Super, they're trying to really challenge the Titans here. Can they match up to the Titan style though? Super takes a lot
Sports are pretty close in ult. Slime 10% up on Moth, but it's not super notable. Now it's pretty equal. Violet 15% ahead. Position from Sinatra is really good.
And this is the position that we saw Sominsu get into when Vancouver was on offense and do a ton of damage. You see Zarya when you're high charged up on the high ground.
Accidentally falls, unlucky.
He drops down. Now
Zens are still close. Slime's a lot higher. And once again, Slime's a lot higher because if we look at the Ryan ult charge, Super is 20% more ult, so Slime is a lot more healing. Rascal is 20% more ult, Slime is a lot more healing. Every other ult's pretty equal, but you can like it's interesting to see like you can judge generally by your team's ult percentage what the enemy ult percentage is. Only works that well in first fights, but still.
Managed to be saved by his teammates though. I don't think Sinatra wanted to drop down from the high ground. I think he wanted to stay up there and may have slipped off. The Shock now have not found any kills early in this fight. They're looking for him now though. Johnny and Twilight both on the ground.
I mean, massive shatter. Not much to say about that.
Bumper charging in.
Shatter as well. Big Reinhardt ultimate.
The Shock.
If you're Vancouver here, you have a lot of ultimates to work with. Just not try and burn all of them here.
Or lose Bumper early in the fight, but Bumper may have been out of position.
Oh, and the trail comes late.
That is huge. The Titans used an ultimate to keep Bumper alive, but he wasn't there to benefit from.
Okay, so let's talk about that exchange. Bumper's out of position, obviously. The plan to trancing Bumper was not the plan. So maybe the plan is to trance Grav, but Bumper's so out of position that plan's not even really valid. Ult economy-wise, that trade's fine if Bumper lives. Execution-wise, I don't know. Execution's hard to call on that one. I mean, he got there after Bumper died, so the execution's probably bad. Yeah.
It's a 5v5 now, but the Shock still have Super.
Bumper, though, is way out of position. It's not really Twilight's fault. They rally to take space because they're in a 5v5.
Probably want to back out of this to Shock. This is a really good engagement for them. So they end up using their Graviton Surge. They get Bumper. Bumper's now back off the respawn. But Haxel had to use Rally, and Twilight used...
If Janu didn't pop off there and kill Violet in the middle of that fight, 100% Shock win.
The Shock, you see all of
off
these
that push.
coming online. Especially the two all the way on the left. You have that Sound Barrier and Transcendence to use.
Often Violet.
No, my point is, though, like, the plan is to trance Grav, but the location of the Grav is not part of the plan. So, with where the Grav was, you cannot trance to save Bumper, so Bumper cannot be positioned there.
by the same token, if the plan is to trance there and Twilight was out of position, then Twilight needs to be closer. But I don't know if the plan was to trance the Grav on the left side or if the plan was to play slow on point and then trance Grav. So those are the kind of communication things that I can't tell from spectating, but I think it's more likely the fault is on Bumper for that one than on Twilight.
The ones to keep your eyes on right now, the Shock feel like brawling a little bit more, but they're going to have to use their Transcendence now to save them from this Graviton surge.
We see a trance, we see a beat, we see a counter beat.
See if Twilight builds strats.
Transcendence for Twilight just to keep his team in this one. The Shock just have to capture 69% of this point. That is all. And they made a good start here, but they need to play.
Okay, so this fight's stabilized. We're gonna go all the way back and talk about the support ults. We're gonna watch it at half speed with no sound. They walk up. They get graved. It's only Brig Rhine pretty good. Risk of trancing here is the Brig could still get pinned. Try open Diva Bombs to try to stop the aggression from coming into the Grav. This is so far a really good setup by Shock. Really, really good setup by Shock. Janu goes into Diva Bomb, somehow fucks that up. I'm not really sure how. This went poorly. Maybe his shift ran out or something, or he didn't have shift, but he still wanted to Diva Bomb. That's what it looks like. And then he walks inside the room at 1 HP and dies. He gets out, he gets Brigade. He gets stunned and dies. So Janu feeds. Still a good trance by Violet. Good stabilizing. Let's look at the beat for Moth. I don't know if I like the beat. No one needed the beat. Super should have called. His shield was up. Shouldn't have needed to use the beat. Execution and timing on the beat were good. Positioning on the beat was good. Ult economy-wise, probably unneeded. Again, though, this is one of the really close things. So it's like it's not Moth's fault. It's a communication issue in the team. It's a very hard one to solve. I'd argue almost no team has this problem 100% gone. Where you can communicate when you do not need to use beat to survive a Diva Bomb post-Grav. Still, though, it's fine. They pick Janu, it's huge. See when Slime beats. Slime again beats so they can follow up on the massive shatter. Seems like it's really common with Titans, actually. They use beat a lot to follow up on stuff. They get a kill. But then Sinatra has Grav and Twilight has no trance. And he takes too long to build it and they lose. Okay. GG's go next map. I'm gonna run to the bathroom though, I'll be right back.
I missed a fight? Okay. Well, I will go back. Wait, Shock lost that fight? How did Shock lose that fight?
What? Okay, I need to go way back. Where was I? I mean, we can watch from here, supportal-wise. This was after Twilight stalled point with Trance. Can't believe that they actually lose this fight. They're just giving up point right now. They're giving up all this point pressure. Huge value from Janu. Grav comes in on Zarya Diva. We trance it. It's good value. Penny comes through on Sinatra. Stays alive because the trance. How does Super die? Okay, he gets counterpinned by the Brig over here and gets shot by... he tries to pin to the Grav. Haxel bashes him, counterpins him. Then Twilight kills him. Okay, I kind of understand how Shock lost this now, but it still seems like they should win it. As soon as Sinatra dies, I guess it gets really hard. B comes out after Sinatra dies, bad beat. Beating in a 4v5, not worth. Beat idea was to save Sinatra, so like the thought behind it was good, but execution was bad. Okay, what a weird fight. Let's go to the next one.
Shock, it's going to be a Graviton Surge for Sinatra. Needs to be a good one. Chayoman probably comes on the left-hand side here and gets that touch to force overtime.
2 seconds remaining. Chayoman gets to the point. He has secured overtime. The super
Huge boot from Slime.
so much damage while he tried to approach the
Miss Chatter. Both teams are still rallying. Grav comes out. Oh, yes. I had some good points about this one. Okay, so unlucky for Slime. I think Slime has played unbelievably good in this series so far. But this kind of thing is really bad. And him playing amazing doesn't absolve him from the fact that this happening is still really bad. So he gets caught in the Grav. He panics once he gets caught in the Grav and thinks, oh shit, I'm going to die, I have to beat. Twilight sees a Grav and reasonably goes, I need to transit to Grav. That's what we called the plan was going to be, probably. So, Twilight sees the Grav, he trances over, and Slime beats. So not only do they stack support ults, but the beat is so early that the Diva Bomb still just kills people anyway. So Slime panic beats because he gets caught in the Grav. That means the Diva Bomb kills everybody for free. They probably still would have won the fight, Shock, to be fair. But this is really unfortunate. Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge! That's what the Shock needed again! Chayoman comes to the rescue! Janu is desuited now. The Shock is starting to capture the point. They go 1/3, 50% and counting. And they just need to get these last couple of players off for the Titans.
Yeah.
Twilight is hammered. He goes
Unlucky.
to the bumper now, throws himself at the point. So Mitsu comes in, Ladufus to try and by the attacking team standing guaranteed. If the enemy team stands near the payload,
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the Shatter.
so the Shock need to
Why would I care about the Shatter?
presence on the payload.
It's not a support ult.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to see.
Has no impact on when you should be support ulting.
See the Shock get onto the payload, they get it rolling. Vancouver playing very close around this corner. See, they're gonna just go up, contest the...
They're looking for any opportunity to drop down on a player that is out of
If I'm not very focused on support ults in this review, it will take way longer than I want it to. So I'm trying to be very, very specific in the issues I talk about, or in the topics I talk about. And unless it is directly relating to support ults, or relating to support ults in a way where it does impact whether or not you want to use them, I'm probably going to avoid the topic. That doesn't mean I don't see other people press Q. That just means that I don't feel like I want to talk about it, I guess is the proper way to say that. Or I don't feel like they are what I am A, an expert in, or B, have time to do at the moment.
or not immediately looking like he'll be defended by the rest of their team.
Again, let's see. Moth is 15% ahead, so just trying to draw the comparison, so it's literally burned into everyone's mind. Moth is going to be way more ahead in beat, right? He has all this, he can heal up, so we can really call this 60% beat. So Super's ahead in Shatter, which is interesting then that Moth is ahead in beat. But Twilight is like 35% ahead on Violet, which is crazy. That's a crazy amount of damage to be ahead on. And that's really where this is coming from for Moth to get beat.
Fairly good for the Shock.
Is
We usually
Twilight
feel
popping
this
off.
Take that early first fight at that first corner because they want to get 2 fights as it keeps going. You see the payload as it goes under this underpass. A ton of space being garnered here for the San Francisco.
Why are Shock engaging when they're so low?
They win this fight. There's a good chance they can take point A right away.
Vancouver Titans haven't really
Like
fought
what?
this.
Like what the fuck was this rotation? Okay, never mind. Not a support ult. Doesn't matter.
That'll open the floodgates.
Not a support ult.
Sure enough, Bumper
Doesn't. Not important.
sees an opportunity
Moving on.
to glint in his eye.
Twilight has trance. That's good. Violet's close. Slime and Moth are pretty equal now.
Opportunity where Bumper is not the aggressor. You see, usually he's the one who starts that fight. That time he lets Super come in, dictate the pace of the play, and then the Super goes a little bit too far, and they're able to pick him off. Usually that's like the critique of Bumper, that sometimes he goes in a little bit too deep out of the way.
Can the Titans play more aggressively now after winning that fight?
I mean, now you start to build up some ultimates, as you see at the top of the
Okay,
screen.
Twilight.
Twilight's got his hack
I think the
now
replay of
with-
that actually looks hype.
very
they show
close
it.
here for the Titans.
And is that enough to give you the confidence to say, hey, now we can switch gears and start to play, bully them a little bit more, play aggressively?
Yeah, I mean, it makes things a little bit more costly for the Shock if they're going to start.
Get yourself a Zen who can do this.
See Twilight there. The Discord Orb. 2 nice headshots takes out Violet.
It's not as easy as it looks, by the way. Those orbs
Trances are
travel
equal.
time and people move fast in
Beat
Overwatch.
is pretty equal.
Shock here using the speed boost to get around the corner here. Just trying to play this from a different angle. Not go through the initial choke. They're going to go to the stairs.
Just trying to push that here.
Rally to engage, rally to counter. It's really common.
Come forward here. Bumper got out of position, tries to go for the shadow, but
Okay, sorry. That was a clusterfuck of a play. So Titans effectively just use Grav and Violet trances it. That seems good.
that one. Now the Graviton search the whole.
Wide Twilight trance.
Got out of position, tries to go for the shadow.
Oh, because Bumper's pinning into a Grav at half HP. Okay. I mean, Twilight had to trance there, but maybe Bumper could have just not pinned. I don't know. Shatter from Super ends the fight, pretty much. I assume, unless Slime gets up and beats. Oh! Okay, no one dies again. That seems really common with Super's fucking massive shatter, so let's go back. Sinatra solo grabs the Baby Diva. They kill her, nice. This beat comes out. Again, another fight where beat did not matter. No one needed beat to survive Diva Bomb here. Again, it's close and unlucky, but it is something that's important because even if you save 1 or 2 beats over the course of a series, it can matter a lot. Rascal also didn't get beat, and then he dies. What did Slime beat? Slime just beat when he got up from the shatter. Yeah, Slime just beats as they get up from the shatter and they push. And even though it's 5v6 because Rascal's out of position and Shock used beat when they didn't need to, Rascal dies. And then Super's out of position, and then they win the fight. So next fight, support ults are getting kind of more even again. Super just gets fucking 8. I mean, it's a free fight win for Vancouver. And it's trance for trance. Slime's a bit ahead on beat. Rally for rally.
Despite having a literal jet on the back of his armor. Well, it's not that
Rally engage. Rally to counter. Tryoban eats Grav. So as soon as Tryoban eats Grav, Violet can trance pretty liberally. He can do whatever he wants with it. He can just go in and trance. That's good and fine, pretty much, because there's no Grav for him to be worried about after. Twilight trances to try to save Bumper. It's too late. Bumper dies. Good plan, good positioning, bad execution from Twilight. They go to combo. They get to save both their support ults too, even though Titans used 4 ults.
With the use of that graviton, but all of a sudden it was taken away from them. Yeah, and Tryoban playing D.Va, as we mentioned, D.Va can eat up the...
Doesn't give them a huge bank to lean on.
swap sides. So you see the Shock now is
Trance and beat versus
still
beat.
on up and playing from the defensive side of the map. Slime engages with the sound barrier here as the Vancouver Titans want to get aggressive. They want to force out some of these
So
ultimates.
what is the plan here from Titans? Why is this the play?
The Shock now is still on up and playing from the defensive side.
So this is too reactive of a play. To do a play like this, you need to like set up something in comms where the understanding is when they push us, we are beat engaging on their Rhine. And that way you don't have this thing where everybody's backing up and you call to engage and they have to process in their heads that you're now engaging. They just know that like they see them engaging, you know, we're gonna counter engage this. I'm not giving up my position. And then you can do that with beat. But this looks like it was like a random call from Slime that ends up going really poorly because they just can't follow up. If they were a bit more, if they were a bit more aggro and could split them on the choke, it would be a lot better. But because they're so far back, it's like pretty terrible.
Side of the map. Slime engages with the sound barrier here as
And he
the
gets bashed and
Vancouver
just
Titans
dies.
want to get aggressive. They want to force out some of these ultimates from the Shock. The Shock don't fall for it though. The Shock have held onto their transcendence in sound barrier through this.
The best part is the Shock
Again, a beat that wasn't needed.
on the one person that was propelling
Although that was probably called by Moth. It's a pretty common call where like when they D.Va bomb, you beat engage because it's very easy to catch them off guard because they want to be pushing up and splitting you with the D.Va bomb. So if you beat engage, everyone can ignore the D.Va bomb because it won't matter because they've beat and they can engage really heavily. So it's a good call. It was probably the call here. Just unlucky that the beat didn't actually matter.
the Titans forward. They pick up
For the
Slime
D.Va bomb, at
and
least.
Flamingo at the start of that fight. And then the Vancouver Titans are stranded. They've swapped sides, so they're out of position. And they don't have a speed boost to actually correct that. Great use of the boot to knock the
Bumper's
Titans
low.
Trance is up for Twilight. Trance is up for Violet.
They have to be careful. Huxel on
Twilight
Graviton.
trances.
Jana goes over the
Huxel
top, back into
almost dies. He looks like he gets bubbled there at the last second by Summons, who did not get pinned.
Super tried to land a
It was a good trance though by Twilight regardless. Trancing a Grav is always good value.
1v1. Those two supports duking it out for supremacy, and that will continue the Shock pushing forward. That's checkpoint 2 right there. And the Shock want
It's a good trance by Violet. I don't know how needed it was. But once again, like, the worst thing that can happen is if they grab someone, you trance, and that person stays alive, is that you traded 2 ults that you always want to trade. You always want to trade your trance for a Grav. So, even the worst case scenario is still good at that point if you trance, and I do think it was probably needed to save Sinatra there. So it's definitely a good trance.
The Titans have tried like like 2 or 3 times to get that big ultimate out. Rally comes in here for the Titans. They're trying to fight this on the point. There's a self-destruct up in the sky there for Xiaobin. Doesn't get anything.
But below, though, he's got a Discord orb on him right now, so he's taking more damage than he otherwise would be. And Slime is taken down. The Earth Shatter from Bumper. He gets himself 3, but can he follow up on that one? He gets Rascal at the very least. Xiaobin in the backline trying to duke it out with Twilight.
Twilight's so close to trance.
Who's going to go down? Super has to give himself up, though. And now the Shock are down to 17 seconds. They're so close to getting this next checkpoint, but Moth can't
Yeah,
do anything
okay.
now. The Transcendence was used
I mean,
by Twilight.
that was every support we'll use pretty much.
Played the Graviton Surge and Violet.
Briggs die a lot. It's always hard to say because you don't know the team comms. If it's the Briggs' fault, the Rhine's fault, the Lucio's fault, it can be a lot of people's fault. Could even be the Zen's fault, D.Va's fault.
Unlike the Titans, or will they give ground and back up? They've for the first time in this series, and perhaps they realize that they have to be a little bit more conservative. Either way, the Titans now make their way through this choke. The Shock have to fight them pretty soon. Super, well, he might not have had a choice there. He was thrust into the mix. And keep an eye on those little X-rays. Okay,
All the ults are really close.
The Shock have read this well. Troy Coben here, trying to get an aerial view of the situation.
This stat card means nothing to me. There's too many ways you can put blame on different people for this stat card, so this stat card should be ignored. I can phrase this stat card as my Zen never discords my bash targets. I could phrase the stat card as I'm saving bash to make sure we can confirm kills off of it. I can frame the stat card as I'm communicating my bashes better. There's so many possible reasons this stat could be true that without looking through the series, looking at only bash usage, you can't draw a meaningful conclusion. It's still fun to look at and fun to know, but trying to draw a conclusion or place blame based off the stat is not good.
Super keeps playing around these corners. He wants to conserve that Reinhardt shield as much as possible.
Violet's a bit ahead right now, which is good. On defense, you generally should be a bit ahead.
Searching damage for the rest of the Titans, or at least a lot of their
If they kite back and Moth amp heals, he gets beat here pretty much, or like 70. Oh, is Super just gonna die?
so low. He's so low right now. We get a bubble from Sinatra to try to keep alive, but it's not enough. Violet tries to go
How close was the trance?
so low. He's so low right now.
94,
We get the bubble.
95.
Fall back so much here, though. You're only going to have maybe one fight to decide point A.
So low. He's so low right now.
It's really close for this one. But he does trance like after he dies again. I'd rather just lose this fight because we fucked up than trance here and try to fight a 5v6 for like the 8th time. I feel like I've seen Violet do this now. Granted, it's really close. It's really, really close. But it's unlucky. Unlucky meaning probably avoidable, but also not entirely his fault.
Point Titans, they unlock the second part of the map. 5 minutes to do it. And look, I mean, they've held on to their Graviton Surge. You see both of their supports. Slime and
If you
Twilight
had the
are
comms from
there
each
to
team,
down
well, I
the
guess,
field.
and I would also have to be able to understand Korean for Titans,
Big advantage.
you could much more cleanly place blame on people.
Sinatra's Graviton
But without it,
Surge
I'm very
here.
hesitant to blame individuals for some plays.
San Francisco Shock, they had the high ground. They opt to leap off. Normally teams try and do this to try and get immediately into the back line of enemies.
Good idea by Twilight, but the position he's in right now with the trance splits him from Haxel, and Haxel dies. Because he breaks LOS. It's not really his fault even, but it's unlucky. Moth beats the D.Va Bomb really early. Really early. Does he beat the Grav? He beats the Grav. So they get Graved. Moth beats because Violet was close to ult but didn't have it yet. And then who knows why Violet tranced? Seems to be a theme. Granted, if he didn't trance, he would have died. But when he tranced, very unnecessary. Credit to Slime, by the way. This boop pretty much killed Zarya.
Missing, but Twilight goes down. Violet able to duel him out.
It's a big kill. Because you could have gotten aggressive there if you're Vancouver, because you still hold on to that sound barrier.
Look at this. Sinatra started the fight up with the Graviton Surge. We talked about Vancouver having all those check marks, all of those ultimates.
They're gone now.
Just the sound barrier. That's definitely what the Shock wanted. They need more of it, though, because the Titans still have 3 minutes 50 to get to their next checkpoint.
The Shock have to give up some space, though, because you lose Sinatra and his bubbles to keep alive.
So beat versus nothing.
Team is you have to fall back.
Like right there, that was a bash kill from Haxel. The bash didn't matter. He just used it on a target that was going to die.
Backfired for the Shock. They tried to get cute, man. They tried to hide their Brigitte away, but they were spotted immediately, and now the Titans are on the home stretch. They're so close to that golden box of victory. That would signify their win on this map. And the Shock once again are up against the clock. Trikobin does get away from Janu, but he is so low on health. He'll have to come in from the backside here. Moth gets onto the payload and begins contesting the objective. Violet already goes down above early on.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Dorado, I guess, was actually one of the fastest maps in the series. It's pretty crazy. Violet's still playing with Korea Ping in this match. Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, you know, instead of actually being on stage, he's actually still in Korea playing remotely to Overwatch League. Makes sense. I can't believe why I didn't remember that.
Defeated on Ilios.
Why is my backdrop a bunch of black panels? Well, because I'm in a large room, and there are other people on their PCs in this room. And they don't obviously want to be on my stream randomly when they're existing in their house, you know? No, I think Violet has played reasonably well. I just think some of his trances have been, like, really close to being good and then kind of not good. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I went into this thinking Violet's trances were okay when I watched the series, but I don't think Twilight has had particularly good trances either. Especially on like Numbani. I think that, and it's also awkward because comparing them to each other is maybe not fair. Like, I don't know how I would rate them in terms of how well they use their ults out of everyone in the league. So, it's possible that it's just hard as shit to use Zenyatta ult right now, and that everybody is fucking it up. And that even though it's obvious from a macro perspective how to properly be ulting, that as players, it's just very, very difficult to judge in the moment and almost impossible. So that's another interesting thing to take into account. Numbani was a bad map for everyone, that's fair. It was a great map for Super, even though they got full held. Super popped the fuck off on that map. Yeah, so I think it's interesting in that sense. Like maybe I don't know how to check. One sec. I'm gonna go try to find this Zen statistic and then look at it. How do I feel the Moth versus Slime matchup is going? I think Slime is winning it, but I think it's really close, and I wouldn't say one is necessarily better. I think Slime has had better beat timing for the most part and better positioning with his boops, but neither have made mistakes that are fight losing, other than Slime, who made one mistake on Anubis. Okay, so these are Zen stats from like week 3 or week 4, so they're pretty old at this point. But there's not like a good, you see what I mean by there's like not a metric to really judge ultimate efficiency. The best way to judge ultimate efficiency is healing. So maybe like Shaz is really good with his ults. Shu is maybe really good with his ults. I haven't watched a lot of them play, so I don't know. Violet's at the top here. But I have not been the most impressed with Violet's ults, so maybe this stat means nothing after seeing that. Or since it's healing per 10, maybe Violet had good trances the 1 week he played. Or 2 weeks he played. I don't know how many games he was banned for. Izayaki's really high on this list. But I also don't really know what that means. Dogman's at the bottom of this list. Does that mean Dogman has the worst trances? But if I think Violet's trances are bad, maybe my perspective is just off and Violet's trances are just good. And this series was bad for him. Also totally possible. Okay, so that's probably what it is. It looks like Twilight is having an average game for his Transcendences, based on these statistics, which are very skewed and there's no data that I can like easily absorb, so it's really hard to draw a conclusion. But my initial conclusion would be Twilight is having an average game for his Transcendences, and Violet is having a below average game for his Transcendences. And that it is just an off day for Violet and we expect him to be better in general, which is totally reasonable. Like, I get it's a bad day to have an off day, right? Like, it's the finals of stage 1, but it still happens, it happens to everyone, so it's not the end of the world. I mean, I would need to look through Atlanta VODs, but I'm pretty sure Dogman's Transcendences just literally get less value. I mean, I'm pretty sure Alarm could replace anyone on any team other than Twilight and Jonak. Violet might be up there, dude. Violet, other than his Transcendences this series, Violet's been playing insanely well. And he's been building them quickly. Just like a couple of the decisions with trances have been bad. So I don't know. I'm not sold on that argument. No, yeah, I agree. He uses them aggressively. That's why this stat is like just not. That's why it's so hard to use. That's why stats in Overwatch just suck, and you need so much actual information before stats matter. Okay, map 5. Let's go. After the first round, I gotta go get a Red Bull too, because I'm getting tired.
That is big. With their record and their map score, not a lot of maps that they could have dropped to teams, but still very impressive throughout stage 1 to be undefeated on the map.
The Shock had to pick this one. It was the pick. Oh, Super, be careful. Oh, Twilight! He's got over the edge!
Oh, we'll watch this. Twilight just threw this fight.
Found his way in and carved out a key support from the lineup of the Vancouver Titans, and now
I don't think Aim God is the worst Zen.
flagging Vancouver squad, and they do just that. Johnny and Slime are on the point. They're trying to keep it contested, but at no point did the Titans fully capture the point, so they never accrued any percentage. Now the Shock can do that.
Alarm is ineligible to be signed because in order to be eligible to be signed for Overwatch League, you have to turn 18 before the end of the current Overwatch League season. So if Alarm turned 18 in time to play in Stage 4 or in playoffs, he would be eligible to be signed as an Overwatch League player by any team. Because he will not turn 18 until like the summer, like really like September, like late, until after the season's over, he is not eligible to be signed for Overwatch League. Even if a team wanted to. Twilight's rotation here is so greedy. His team's whole rotation was pretty greedy, though.
Was keeping an eye on him. He actually booped Moth away in hopes that that would sort of dissuade him from attempting to knock any of the Titans off. Didn't quite work, did it? Well, getting the Zenyatta is huge.
So, supports, Moth almost has beat, Violet almost has trance, Slime's close to the beat, but Twilight's pretty far away from the trance because he got booped.
Gotta be careful. I think Sinatra, one of his right clicks actually knocked him out of
Haxel just dies. Okay. Good job, Violet.
Lose that first player, and they will lose a second just as quickly. And look at the Shock. They're doing a lot of damage. They've not been forced to use any ultimates, so they're just building up a bank of them.
You know, it's when we talked about teams like New York, how defensive they are, we're always like, they're so much better as the reactionary team. Vancouver, they look great when they're the ones setting the tone. When the fight is coming to them and they're forced to react and make a judgment call, they kind of hesitate a little bit. They're not exactly that lightning quick.
I mean, the onus of all the thinking.
There's not much to say here. I just want to see how they use support ults. Rally engage.
The Titans, again,
Rascal's super out of position, gets solo grabbed. They trance him because he got solo grabbed. He dies because he's super out of position. Solo grabbed as Brig. I get why you trance the grab, but fuck, it's so hard to keep him alive even with trance.
Sinatra's Graviton is also negated by Janu. So the chance for the shock to fire back in this fight is also taken away from them by some fantastic D.Va play. Janu will wait around the corner there as a self-destruct was set off, and Super was trying to set up a bomb combo, but Bumper was the only one felled by that one.
That was a bad
Johnny's
beat,
sitting in the corner. Joe
objectively.
Yeoman now just standing still to try and
It was
keep
an
the point
objectively
contested.
bad beat.
The shock, though, are 81%
It's rough.
and more of the way towards winning because of how long they control the point for. Just 15% to go for San Francisco.
You're pretty much in one fight territory here for the shock, if you can get one to flip in your favor. Both Graviton Surges used during that fight. Sinatra's gets eaten up by Janu using that D.Va defense matrix. Sinatra's already had another one. Puts down enough damage to earn another Graviton Surge here.
So Shock used both support ults, so now it's hard for them to retake into Grav. Slime still has beat, Twilight's gonna get trance up. They get the Grav off. Twilight trances. Then the counter grab wins the fight because Shock have no support ults. Violet will trance up for the next retake, which is good. Vancouver even maybe overused ults. They used 4 for just Grav. Definitely overused ults. Vancouver shouldn't have shattered. Maybe you shouldn't have D.Va bombed either.
The Graviton Surge of Sominsu, Bumper with a Shatter, Twilight with Transcendence, and then Janu also using Self-Destruct.
Oh, yeah.
So that's 4 ultimates used there by the Titans.
So the Titans won the fight, but they got hustled out of a lot of their resources that they need for the rest of this round.
It's the Shock playing the long game, right? So they know they need one more fight. They get the advantage now.
This might be the chance here. Sound barrier straight away from Slime to make sure that no one from the Titans falls earlier than they need to.
But they stack Sound Barrier in Rally. They use 2 support ultimates at the same.
This might be the chance here.
Playing the long game, right? So
They trance engage for some reason super early, even though no one's low. I don't like the trance. They beat to counter the engage. It's good from Slime. They rally too, which isn't great to use both. I think the beat was needed though. Still fine for Titans. Now they have Grav, and Violet wasted trance. They Grav, Shatter comes out, doesn't get anybody. Counter Shatter comes out, gets Slime. Moth dies mid-beat. That's rough. Shock still somehow win this fight after half their team throwing. Oh boy. Haxel flails Moth out of his beat mid-beat, dude. They still lose. It's rough.
Shock we're looking for, and what's more, they have ultimates left just in case the Titans make a desperate attempt to contest. 90% for San Francisco.
Yeah, everyone does something wrong in scrims. That's literally why people scrim. Alarm has done some of the dumbest things in scrims of any player I have seen. We have a meme when Alarm fucks up his trance to not save our main tank. We just are like, oh, Alarm's throwing. Haha, nice. He laughs it off, but it's a joke because it's very funny because he has a bad habit of his trances. It seems that the better mechanically your Zen is, the worse your trances get, apparently. I've seen Alarm do many mistakes. I've seen Alarm do mistakes in matches. It's really common. Everyone does mistakes. If you watch someone's POV, you could point out 8,000 things they could do better. But the reason that the pro players are good is because they're already doing 8,000 things pretty good. And even though they could do all of them better, it's like still that expectation just isn't a real expectation. But regardless, let's stop talking about rosters and players who are ineligible for Overwatch League and talk about this support ult usage by both teams. Okay, I'm gonna go get a Red Bull though, I'll be right back. Okay.
Feed it on throughout.
It's a lowered area as well, so attacking teams or teams that don't control a point can fire in from the higher ground to try and get early advantages or pickoffs. But for now, it'll be nose to the grindstone, as both teams will be looking for a way to try and limit each other's numbers before the fight.
Vancouver being aggressive here, just trying to back the Shock off as Super gets low. They're forced to use that Brigitte repair pack. So Vancouver knows that ability is on cooldown. Knows you don't have that instant burst heal, but look, Sinatraa already at 100 charge. Bumpers, oh, there it goes.
It's almost like Bumper didn't exist. Vaporize there. Rascal also assisting with the
Twilight's a bit ahead, but not that much ahead.
Shock, though, with a two-player
Moth is a bit ahead.
just hit the gas.
Team that they thrive in scenarios like this. When they start to get going, there's Super and Sinatraa. There's some pretty interesting guys. They like to really get in the mix to talk some trash. Violet able to pick up a kill there. So now you move up. You get more
So next fight, we're gonna have Trances both up, Beats both very close in percent, but it will be a lot harder for Twilight to save his Trance. Ideally, he wants to save it for Grav, though.
This might happen again.
You get those early pickoffs, you don't have to use any ultimates, because Vancouver has to wait for everybody to get back as the Shock getting very close. They're going to have all 6 ultimates coming online for the next fight.
38% and counting for the Shock. And they're getting ready to receive the Titans. They know this one's going to be tough. Hang on in. They're going to have to use some of those key ultimates they've been saving versus the rallies.
Both rallies traded again for like the 80th time this series. Good Trance on the Grav, but the Brig was in the Grav, so she was easy to pin. They beat again. This is super common. Vancouver do this a ton, actually. They beat to follow up on Gravs, and they beat to follow up on Shatters. And Shock just Trance the Grav, because they don't need to do anything else. Diva Bomb has exploded. You have not yet beated, but you're currently beating. This is unlucky. Late beat by Moth. He was also caught in Grab, which is pretty bad.
Playing from a player disadvantage now. They have to find another player on the Titans they can carve off, and they found it. Again, it's Joykoven, the micro rocket poop, jumping into.
I mean, a scrim is like 2 hours, and you get like 5 to 6 maps in 2 hours. Very rarely do you get 7 maps.
Shock still have control. The Titans are forced into a full
But it's like, I mean, it's
round.
tiring, but it's not insane.
Coming down from Sinatraa. They both use their Graviton surges at the same time. Sinatraa already at 70%. Sumansu right behind him. But in terms of overall damage, I mean, Sinatraa 33% of the damage for the Shock here on Ilios. He gets another good grab. They can win this map.
The Titans' last chance now on Ilios to stay in the map.
Twilight has
They
Trance
have to
back
win
up
this
again.
next fight. Sinatraa quietly
Violet's pretty
accruing
close, but not
another
at it yet.
He's looking for another Graviton Surge, and he'll have it in a couple moments, and that could be the difference maker. Both he and Sominsu have it ready. And now again, the focus is on Sominsu, on that Zarya. Super's a little low, so now to quickly dispatches the bubble to keep him alive.
They trance it, that's good. Violet trances after Choibin gets demacked. It's kind of unlucky.
Huge shatter from Bumper. That might have saved him for the Titans. He lays the Shock low, and now with Rascal going down, Sominsu.
I mean, it was still a fine trance from Violet.
They're not going down that easily.
I don't know why Super just shattered in a 1v6, but,
To get the point back
you know.
for the Vancouver Titans.
Slime's close to beat, Moth is close to beat. Both Zens are pretty much reset on Trance.
This scenario before in the Overwatch. Pushed to the brink here.
They were champions in Korea, Korean contenders by defeating a team called Kongdu. They took a trophy there. They're looking for the first one to fill the cabinet here in the Overwatch League. 24% to 99. As soon as the Shock get the point back, it's all over. The Titans cannot give control.
Super just explodes, not really anything the supports could do.
And this is the Titans we've seen on the stage. Rally, get aggressive, push through. Bumper never even puts the shield up, already at 80% to a shatter. That, I think, is the Titans you need to see throughout the remainder of this series, the aggressive team.
They need to switch back to being the instigators, the bullies, as it were. They need to take San Francisco's lunch money and that capture progress.
Titans with both up have like a tiny advantage in this fight. They're going to grab, force Trance, or they could go aggressive with Trance to force Trance and then grab after.
They haven't taken too much damage, but the Titans have a lot to work with. The Shock are better off just trying to get this fight.
I like the
moving.
Titans are buying time, trying to make it last fight.
Ultimate advantage. The odds aren't good.
They force Trance just by being aggressive. That's really good.
Early in the fight here by Violet. The Shock to
He did have to trance there, though. They grab and then they have to beat. No idea why Slime used beat. We'll look at that. Also, not a good value trance.
One more fight, and they might make it impossible for the Shock to contest. Graviton trying to approach the point, they're forced to use that defense ultimate now. Soundberry coming out.
He beats to save Bumper. Bumper did need the beat. It's a good beat. Trance probably could have been delayed a bit, but also awkward. Twilight got caught in the grab. He should have been positioned more back, I guess.
Starting to take control. One more fight, and they might make it impossible for the Shock to contest, Matt.
Oh, it's a few players here late for the Shock go down. The speed comes through from Slime. You have Moth who's able to get a touch here.
Alarm is not...
looking good for the Shock.
The Shock have to get here now, but
I don't know what your guys' impression of Alarm is, where you think he wants to sit down and review a map. He wants to play MapleStory and listen to K-pop. It's kind of about it.
in an elabored arm-wrestling style. They finally take control. And now we're going to get ourselves 3 rounds of the map of Ilios also. This next...
I swear to God, Alarm plays more MapleStory than anyone I've ever met. He has, like, fancy stuff, and does Alarm have a MapleStory girlfriend? Yeah, Beast Halo.
Who goes on to championship point? So you see the capture point here. It's this entire area. Not including the well. You go down the well. You don't want to go back to respawn. Yeah. So, look to see some of those heroes that can displace, like Moth playing that Lucio, and then Slime for the Titans. To make a
What is
play.
MapleStory? I don't know. I don't play it, but look it up. It's the game Alarm plays to get his secret power.
Somansu will play McCree, a damage dealer. He can sit at range behind Bumper's Orisa, can play behind this big shield and lay down some damage.
This gunslinger hits hard. And he rewards accuracy. Somansu has that in spades. Bumper will be playing Orisa, this 4-legged tank. Less mobile even potentially than Reinhardt, but very hard to shift out of position. The Shock are going to try and do just that with Super on the Winston. And notice that Somansu does not want to really get too far out in the open. He can get picked off, but he can also do that.
And that's where it gets dangerous for the San Francisco Shock. If Super dives in there on Winston, you have McCree here, played by Somansu, who's got the flash.
Bernard plays it a lot. Nice plays it a lot.
And you also have the Brigitte stun in the bash as well.
A lot of the Uni team plays MapleStory.
For the Vancouver Titans to make Super's life very hard.
Now, I don't know how Cowboys got flashbangs, but McCree has one, and that stun that it causes was how they were able to pick up the kill on Rascal there. If you're the San Francisco
Violet is
Shock,
trance now.
you need to
It's
find
kind of
the
awkward to use trance against Vancouver's comp, because you
Titans
kind of want to use it to all in, because they never grab you, but it's hard to get to a spot where you can actually all in.
Orisa just puts it on the ground, so if you can get past it, you can make a play.
Deadeye attempting Somansu here, trying to pick off some
It's a good use of the trance just to get space.
Now is forced to fight up very close with enemy tanks, which is not where you want to be as McCree. Now the
Good trance from
Super
Twilight.
going down here.
Trance and grabs, there's not much to say about it. Like,
A lot gets thrown at the
it's obviously good. It's obviously worth it. It's kind of...
down the well. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
The only benefit there for the Shock is that they flip the point during that. So they do gain some percentage on the point, stop Vancouver.
I'm not going to comment on how to play Winston Goats into the Orisa comp,
Like 50% right now.
but
The Shock are in even more trouble.
Shock could definitely be doing some things better to shut down McCree, but that's not, again, what I'm focusing on, because otherwise it will take me forever to review this map. It's a good flank from Super. He got spotted though, but he's going to have ult in 20. Beat from Slime is to try to disengage. It's a really good beat. Gets them all their space back.
Dispatches Super, and then he goes on a bit of a hunt himself. His ultimate Deadeye, very nasty if he's given the room to use it effectively, but it may not matter. The Shock, now the shoe's on the other foot, and they're being put in a position where they have to fight for their survival on this map.
And the Shock in a position here where you're playing in like a one-fight scenario because you have these ultimates. They're going to try and invest a lot into this fight to swing the point back. If they lose it, though, I mean, you're looking at Vancouver stealing this map.
How annoying is that for Super? He tries to engage, jumps forward with the bubble, and the Titans just drop down, use Slime to boost their movement speed, and guess what? It's back to the drawing board as they play here on the point behind that bubble. The Shock are the ones that have to crack this code.
Diving quick with Primal and Beat. I like beating aggressively. I think that beating aggressively is the most value you're going to get out of it in the comp in general. It's possible it was a tad early, but the concept I really like.
Here and Truecoven gets the mech pretty much straight
They
away.
get grabbed. Twilight chances to grab. Again, good.
Truecoven after got the mech, but it's a trade.
Violet chances to continue fighting in their backline.
Lost a very key part
It's
of this
fine.
puzzle. They're not a mobile team. They've lost their only speed boost.
I mean, like, that's good. Shock used their ults. They actually got point back. That's huge.
At the 11th hour.
Was a fine trance from Twilight, but didn't end up mattering because they just lost so much positioning.
Have to see some switches potentially from Vancouver. It's very difficult to attack with the
I mean, there's a reason most teams don't play the McCree comp. It's because
bumper move off of Orisa
it's
onto
kind of
Winston.
worse than Winston Goats, and it's really hard to retake the map versus Winston Goats.
So the Shock have forced the Titans to play their game now.
So, like, even though the Titans are up 97%, it's not by any means secured for them. Because right here, if Shock win this fight quickly, right? Like, if they just engage and win the fight, let's say they get Rally up, and let's say Slime didn't have beat, Somansu has 0 energy. So that means the Titans will not get a single grab in this map. Assuming Somansu dies with, like, under 50%.
Those heroes are going to start from 0. We see Sinatra already getting close to a grab.
It's kind of why most teams don't play McCree.
Control the point. They cannot give the Titans an inch. Sinatra is close to the Graviton Surge. Slime has a sound barrier for the Vancouver Titans. That's about all they really have to work with right now, and they'll need to use it in a pinch to keep their team alive. Johnny takes a lot of damage coming across the point, and it gives Sinatra that Graviton Surge. He's about ready to let that one
Good trade transfer beat. This is good because Sinatra's looking for grabs. They just want to force support ults. Grav comes out, and that should be the end of the fight. It was really close to Twilight getting trance, but couldn't get it up in time.
And mind you, the Shock are already at 80% here, so they do have the primal rage to use from Super, that Winston ultimate.
And Somansu got to 90% on Grav, but 90%'s not 100, and the map's pretty much over, and he didn't get a Grav. He barely gets it at the end here. They have beat up. It's a good beat by Moth there. And if your comp isn't good enough to win once you're up 99-0 on Koth, you should be playing a different comp. Really good plays by Shock, though. I think they just play Koth like way better than Titans do. Shock look really good on Koth.
Capture it, then you unlock the payload. When they faced earlier in the season, played this map against each other, it was down to the wire. Somansu and Sinatra both broke like damage records in that map. It's a really great Reinhardt and Zarya map.
The Shock now wondering what's on the other side of Destiny. They step up to the plate. Let's see if they can finish this series here and now. The Titans, I'm sure, have other plans. Already Sinatra is showcasing some of that signature aggressiveness by being at the head of the pack here. But Super's taking quite a lot of damage as well. It's almost as if they're baiting the Titans to get aggressive. Look at Lou. Su. He took so much damage and the Shock get what they wanted. They goad the Titans into overextending with their Zarya.
Yeah, no damage here for the Titans. Zarya provides so much of that. And no bubbles, but Violet gets caught out there by Hacksaw.
Almost 2/3 of catch-up progress done. And the Shock have got that much, but they still need to finish this fight now. The Titans need to start pouring onto the point after them. But the Shock's respawn players are coming in. The reinforcements aren't too far away. They need to make do with what they've got for the time being, though. Transcendence was used. Hacksaw also goes for the rally, so the Titans...
I'm a little confused about that trance.
The Shock have got that much, but they still...
They're already up Zen. Why does Twilight trance? Because he's out of position and was going to get shattered, maybe? It's still not a good trance. It's a bad trance. Maybe saves Haxel, who also shouldn't have gotten shattered. He's on Brig. He can shield himself. How tall is Alarm? I don't know, like 5'7", 5'6"? I'm like a foot-ish taller than him, at least. Not a full foot. That's a lie. 7 inches.
But the Shock still haven't found the important first kill, and Super, that shield's about to get broken. What timing! Violet gets the Transcendence at the nick of time.
It's a good aggressive trance.
Super nice and topped up. And the Shock now looking
Not only because they win a fight with it, but also because you can, like, As long as you guarantee yourself getting first point, even if you lose a couple fights in second, it's fine. So normally teams overcommit ults on first point to make sure they cap it. But the fact that Shock were able to win that only with an aggressive trance is really good.
Push some of the players back from Vancouver who got to spawn further up and allow them to move the payload through some of the streets phase uncontested.
The Shock just took the first checkpoint, but they were standing just now.
I will link my YouTube after I'm done streaming. And I will tweet when it's up on YouTube. Don't worry. Okay, so we've beaten Trance against Beat. Sominsu has Grav, so Shock probably lose. Unless they get a good counter Grav off. Or they force Trance because Bumper gets melted. And Beat. Moth counter beats. Okay. Sorry. We need to watch this fight back. That was so many fucking ults. Moth goes in for a really good boop. They isolate Bumper. They boop Bumper and they bash Bumper. They all focus him. Really good setup by Moth. Good play by the team. Super shatters Slime and Sominsu. Great play. Twilight trances. Great trance by Twilight. Saves Bumper. Super important. No idea why Janu bombed, but that's okay. Okay, that's not true. I know why he bombed. He bombed to try to prevent follow-up on the Shatter, but I don't think the bomb was good. I think it's better to save it for the Grav. Another situation where Moth beats to protect people from D.Va Bomb. The only person who got hit from the D.Va Bomb was Triobin. And he was far enough away he would not have gotten demeched. So maybe the beat again could have been saved. Now Sinatra Gravs. That's a lot of people. Big Grav. Slime has to beat. Slime's beat gets everybody. Good beat. Chobin bombs a bit late into the Grav. Counter Grav comes out from Sominsu, or a Grav comes out from Sominsu. How has Twilight not died? Insane. And Vancouver magically win this fight that they should not have won. Wow. Okay. All the support ults that fight were good, other than Moth's, which I think was unneeded, but again, it's the same bomb situation. Where it's like, it's not needed, but it's hard to tell in the moment if it's needed, so it's like always safe to do it, but it's the kind of thing where if you take risks, you might get more value out of it. Why did the trance happen? Super's half. Very unnecessary trance. Violet's trance is just early. Kind of gets wasted. Yeah, they get some space off of it, but unless Moth hits that boop at the end on Bumper, Bumper never dies. So, like, they get value out of Violet's trance, but not because his trance was good. They get value out of it because Shock plays it well. And Twilight grabs in a 4v6. And they use Grav in a 4v6. And they actually fucking kill him? I'm sorry, are they winning a 4v6? Okay. Hold up. Okay, so Super is the reason this gets lost. That's greedy. This is greedy. This is greedy. Now he's dead. So they trance in a 4v5. If you're trancing in a 4v5 with your Zarya Zen Brig up, that's actually pretty reasonable because your Zarya Zen Brig are very high value targets. They grab Sinatra, they kill Sinatra, so now it's a 4v4. And then they kill Haxel makes a great play to isolate Rascal, and now it's a 4v3. Really well played by Titans. Trance was actually good. Super said he fed here? Yes. Good opinion, Super.
so, carefully accrued.
It's an ultimate advantage here for the Shock, though. They're going to have Shatter, Graviton Surge, and Rally. Rally kicks things off for both teams.
Bumper might have slowed this one down, though. Trujillo is knocked to the ground, and Johnny now trying to follow it up with a self-destruct. Neither of those ultimates yield any kills, and now Super, it's his turn to get aggressive. But
Violet Trance is at a good time here. People were very low. Does Twilight Trance when he gets it up? Probably won't if Haxel dies. Yeah, they probably just reset. Okay, you guys have a lot of weirdly specific things and questions about Alarm. He's just a normal kid who's 17 and a teenager. He likes normal things like K-pop and MapleStory. There's no wild stories. If you have questions for him, I would suggest asking him on his Discord, tweet at him, or when he streams. So those are my suggestions. I'm not going to answer any more questions about it because A, not the place, and B, it's just strange. Okay, back to this. Violet Trance's fight was good. Good trance.
I don't think that the Titans have really had this much experience when a Reinhardt is as aggressive on the other side. Usually when Bumper is playing against a lot of the other teams in the league, they play very passive. He comes in with all this pressure, he's charging, he's trying to flank.
Good recontest. Trance is maybe a tad early, but the idea behind the trance is really good. Isolate and kill Rascal. A lot of value from the trance. Super, carries the fight, but I feel like that's the story of the series. Trance was still good.
Completely undone right now by Violet, who gets the Transcendence and the Shock get that second checkpoint. Bumper spent so long thinking he's the biggest guy in the gym, but Suvi's been lifted. He's been lifting the burger to his lip, but he's been lifted one way or another. And he shows up with some real attitude, some real grit.
Sinatraa with another Graviton Surge, so getting them about 30 seconds faster than Sominsu. A game like Overwatch has a lot of time as Bumper gets on.
I missed Slime's beat. He beat... What? Okay, I was reading chat too much. Super and Sinatraa get shattered. Slime then beats in a 3v6, Totally winnable 3v6 here. This is a... No, this beat is bad. It's a 3v6. There's nothing else you can say about it. But... Then Violet trances in a 6v3. Like, what? Both these two ults this fight were very bad. Moth ulted when? Moth's ult was fine here. I'd say Moth's ult was good. It gave them a space, it let them follow up on kills.
Second checkpoint. Bumper spent so long thinking he's the biggest.
Graviton Surge, so getting them about 30 seconds faster.
There's no support ults up.
A game like Overwatch has a lot of time.
Bumper just gets murdered.
They kind of want to sacrifice him there in regards. They don't want to get everybody trapped up in it, because then there's no chance of fighting this at the end.
But you can see how much the Shock value getting him off the battlefield with how many ultimates they commit to just getting rid of Bumper. But now there'll be more thrown into this back corner. Notice how
Twilight's closest to Trance. Moth overextends and gets killed by the Brig.
The Titans are very close to their own score, which means they have further.
Super, though, his shield gets broken there, so he's kind of stuck in that middle of the last hallway there, not really able to get out without that shield. You're going to have a Graviton self-destruct combo. They've been very good setting up those.
You guys keep asking questions. I'm just not going to read them or pay attention to them. So, was that a good rally by Rascal?
Bumper. But now there'll be more thrown into this back corner. Notice how low
yeah.
Sinatraa is in a great spot to get.
He's trying to relieve pressure. Slime hits a good boop, and then Moth is like kind of out of position because he's so aggressive. By Haxel and Spawn, I didn't see it. It must happen a while ago if I didn't see it. So I'm just gonna keep playing it. So Violet is Trance, Twilight is Trance. Both Lucios again, even on beat. Both grabs are up. Both Diva Bombs are up.
Land a big gravitons and then follow up with perhaps a bomb.
They grab first. Twilight trances. Good trance.
Twilight goes for the transcendence now. The shocks. Graviton surge doesn't really find them too much now.
Violet trances the grab. Good trance.
Notice that shield quickly turn around for Soupy, who is protecting his team from the self-destructive Janu. Neither roster has found that first kill yet. Ever so slowly.
The beats are going to matter a lot this fight.
Get a commanding view of the situation.
The first beat probably loses. It's a good rally.
Bumper's trying to move up here. He might be walking into a lot of damage though. He wants to not overextend. You see him take a step back.
Counter engage with the rally is also good. No. Can't beat here. Moth beats here because he hears people get shattered. He doesn't know how many people get shattered, and the risk if it was a lot of people is very high. Okay, so we're going to finish this fight first. I don't like the beat because even if the shatter shatters your entire team and you want to save them, you probably are better off resetting. And if the shatter only hit a couple people, you probably don't need the beat. So I don't like the beat here. I don't like the counter beat either. Like, just back up. You don't need to fucking beat engage. They gave you so much space, and some of them are still on the ground shattered. They can't follow up with this beat from Shock. If they had backed up, it would have been so much better. And then they would still have beat.
Sinatraa getting closer, grabs someone Sue as his as well. So we're about a minute to go here.
Really good grab. Violet doesn't have trance up yet. It's kind of just the end.
Just a little bit late there, but they get Moth, Sinatraa in super.
Yeah, I mean, he just didn't need a beat. Like, the beat didn't do anything. Generally, if the beat didn't do anything, it probably means it wasn't a good beat.
They hold on to their grab in self-destruct combo.
Slime definitely did not need to invest beat that fight. And if he still had beat, now they can use both support ults to live through combo.
And maybe you decide, if you know that they don't have grab on the other side, the Shock could engage with their Transcendence to force out the Transcendence of the Titans and then use the combo. It's go time now.
Oh yeah, Choyobin just gets caught here because he's late. I don't know why they did this rotation. They could have just walked main. But they kind of fucked this fight up for themselves. It was a good trance by Violet in the grab, another good trance by Twilight. Or sorry, not Violet in the grab, by Twilight in the grab. Violet trance because they engaged. Violet trance to try to save Choi. Wait, Choyobin didn't get demeched? So Violet trances to save Choyobin, and then Sinatraa grabs, and then Choyobin presses Q not near the grab. Okay. Twilight trances the grab, which is reasonable. Both trances were good. Yeah, that's the end of the fight. No, he didn't have shift up. He could not send the Diva Bomb. I'm pretty sure he thought he was going to get demeched. I mean, they just shouldn't have grabbed or done it. Like, they fucked up a ton of things about that fight. The only thing I care about is if the trance was good. I think the trance, given the circumstance, was good. Only detail in the fight I cared about. If we're talking about the macro play for the fight, about what actually went wrong, their rotation was dumb, and Titans punished them for trying to do a bad rotation. From the bad rotation, they got split and got forced to use ults. Violet actually having to trance there sucks. But given the situation, going on the rotation and then getting caught in a last fight, you have to trance there. So the main reason I'm glossing over it, where was Shock trying to rotate to? The tiny high ground thing. Like, look at this rotation. If you are Shock and you walk main, massive ult advantage, you win the fight. Instead, they try to go into this tiny room, and Titans just say, hey, just push them. And then they catch Choyobin, so Choyobin has to use shift because his team rotated, and he almost dies, and it gets transforced. If they just didn't go up here and they just went main, I think they would have been way better off. Regardless, moving on. Oh, first, someone asked a question about engaging with trance. Okay, so I went over this a lot in map 1 on Village, so I would recommend you go back in the VOD and watch Village to see it. But the best ways to engage with Trance are not to just press Q and go in. You want to play your neutral fight in a very aggressive manner so that if they try to punish you for mistakes that would normally be bad to make in a neutral fight, such as using bubbles to get energy, or like swinging a lot on your Rhine, or like having your Brig play aggressive, if they try to punish you, your response is to trance and fight them. So they can't punish you for all those tiny mistakes that you could make. And those, I shouldn't say mistakes because you can get an advantage by like bubbling for energy and that kind of shit. But you don't want to just like press Q on Zen and run in when you're engaging with Trance. You want to take a very aggressive position with your team and play a neutral fight, and then trance if you have to, is the way you should think about it. It was a poorly done rotation and a bad idea, so meh.
You just have to see them not panic. You have a ton of time to be able to hold, whether it's point A or B, or even play towards the end. Save some of those ultimates, play the time game here.
Is this where it ends? Is this where the shock hold off the Titans? Or do we have to play another one? And maybe the Titans are in a position to take the series away then. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, though, the Titans want to try and find a way to get to the point as safely as they can, essentially. Bumper pushes up a lot. Notice that Sinatra's down to half health here, so that does force him to play a little bit passively. Bumper's shield is very low. He had to step back there. The Shock did a good job of focusing down that barrier.
Yeah, super shield management has been very good today. You see him come around the corner without the shield, just trying to conserve as much of it as possible. Now he's going to be in trouble.
Oh, so Minsu stunned up and knocked away.
Twilight has done an amazing job building Trance this series. So has Violet, but Twilight's been outpacing him. I like the early rally as soon as you get it in these kind of fights. It's really good. You already have point control. The extra time on point is really good. Why does Twilight Trance? Bumper is 1 HP. Pretty good reason to trance. It's worth it. It's a good reason. The grab might win them the fight, though. Oh, huge shatter. Trance gets forced out kind of because of the shatter. Maybe it was a bit early. Sinatra then misses grab on the car. It's unlucky. Super has another godlike shatter. Better not be drinking caffeine. Why? It's a weird statement to make.
Surge looks weird because it's only just Slime stuck inside of it, but Shock doing a good job just calling ultimates. They know that Slime had the sound barrier online, and you force him to make a decision. Does he use the sound barrier to just save himself and not get anybody else in the team, or hold on to it? He decides to hold on to it.
Slime is caught inside a Graviton Surge.
First of all, using the term relapse is strong. And I said I was quitting for a period of time just to like have a caffeine-free couple of weeks, not indefinitely. So chill. Also, that's not true. Alarm does. First of all, Alarm fan 1. That's just a wrong fact. Does Sinatra whiff grab? He whiffed grab. I don't think he meant to solo grab the Lucio.
As well. He needs to touch the ground to use sound barrier, and he was suspended above it. So he couldn't have used his ultimate even if he'd wanted to. And now the Titans push again once more. Bumper gets a late bubble after he'd taken a lot of damage. Now the Shock looking to try and make something work with that. Super also taking a ton. Look at Moth in the background. Both of them so low, and finally the first pick for the Titans. They found it, and they get another one. Bumper with a sizable Earth Shatter to crack this one open.
So both teams used beat that fight. First beat is by Slime. I like it. It's aggressive. It's a good beat. Oh, and the bash on Moth is pretty huge by Hoxel. Hoxel's Brig has looked really fucking good. He's canceled a lot of ults. This is the third beat this series that he stopped Moth from using, which is insane.
The payload.
Nice, he trio just trying to get somebody to take him out. Does not want to be stuck in pilot even for too long. Twilight does it for him.
Check out this, man. This is a tough one for the Shock here. Moth in the background. Gonna be trying to get his sound barrier. Look at this.
I'm in the Overwatch League house. This is a divider behind me. I'm in a room with Neptuna's PC, Boombox's PC, 2 of the coaches' PCs, and Fraggy's PC. And you can't hear anybody because my mic is good, and I have a noise gate, and this blocks sound.
In midair, Haxel shut it down. And
If Haxel cancels beat, isn't it Moth's positioning? That one was. The first 2 weren't. The first 2 were like, Moth beats, and Haxel like long-range whip shots him to kill him. The first 2 were nutty.
matters worse, Slime just got that sound
But the
barrier.
beat have been good if he wasn't stunned? Yeah, totally.
This is the second time Haxel has done
Would've
this
been great
series.
beat.
He got Moth out on Ilios.
It's like, execution was good, ult economy was good, planning was good, positioning was not great.
In Lighthouse, he was able to do the same exact thing.
Hit 3 of the 4 check marks,
And that means the Shock don't get
but
to
just
keep
got
it. They
really
can't
punished
get
by
it.
the
They
positioning
don't
one.
have that sound barrier anymore. They lose it. They still
I'd be so tilted if I was Sominsu. Haxel whips fucking Sinatra out of the grav. How insane is that? And Sominsu gets grabbed.
This is exactly what the Titans tried to
Like,
do.
oy vey.
Last play, focus down the enemy's eye, but Sinatra puts himself on the high ground for a little too long, and now So Min Soo
Titans still win the fight, you know, because they just are really good at winning 5v6s, but Twilight Trance, the first grab, was a good ult. Violet's Trance here in a 4v5 is questionable. It would have been better if Sinatra was still alive, but since Sinatra's dead, I don't think you can trance when down people already. Where should Moth have been? Farther back from the brig. Not even anywhere special, just like a foot more back. Couldn't have gotten bashed, beat would have gone off. Easy clap. Top 3 brig players? No idea.
Yeah, you can see the checkpoint at the top of your screen, so close to getting there.
Oh, they just touched just in time. The Shock kicked this
Solo
one.
grab on Ryan. It's a good play.
But they've lost Super already. Graviton Surge being thrown out from the Titans. It was just an insurance policy to keep the Shock away. They still haven't quite got that checkpoint, but they will. They've been forced to spend ults on it, but they'll take it anyway. And now the road is clear, Matt. The blue box of victory from So Min Soo's perspective is where the Titans need to get to. It's almost the end of the map. They've got 3 minutes and 45 seconds to do it.
He's so charged up as well, just laying down these alternate fires, these big
Pretty much all 4 support ults are up.
AoE damage here. Somebody
No one gets hit by the shatter. Dude, why does Violet
alternate
trance?
fires these big grenades, right? Just does
Okay, Violet would have gotten shattered if he didn't trance here, so that's why he trances.
somebody Bumper leading the way with a shatter, doesn't get anything. It'll be Transcendence that's answered on the other side.
They try. Oh, that's a boop. Oh, it's just Bumper.
Good job by Moth. They want to fight for free.
Haxel tried to help Bumper set up a big combo there by bashing into Super, but he couldn't get past the shield. That's why Bumper's Earth Shadow just didn't look like very much.
And I tell you what, the Shock, you know, if Bumper's able to live there, you probably see a disengage from the Titans. The Titans have a good shot at taking it. Rascal and Violet both use their support ultimates at the same time. You layered the Transcendence in the rally on top of each other.
The Shock are in for the long haul now. They have to hold this position for
So beat transfers beat is pretty awkward. Vancouver can grab and just kill them in grav, so Sinatra has to kind of be ready to counter grav.
a heck of a long time, but they did it on the Temple of Anubis. It is possible. But So Min Soo
This positioning is also now insane for Titans. They have so much space to work with, and someone who is so charged.
wants to end this right now. You can see the deadly intent in how he steps forward here. And now that
This positioning is like almost unwinnable actually for Shock. They needed to hold closer.
Mortify uses Graviton
They're trying to get their trance up, but they don't have time.
the payload, he says. He's gonna let it go right now. Tricoven drops in that.
The number of fights that Super and Choyobin have just won by magically comboing their ultimates together when they have zero business winning the fight is a lot. Why did Slime not beat? Grav comes out. They're shooting Grav. Shatter comes out. Shatter hits Brig Zen. Slime thinks that no one's going to die to the bomb because it's in the Grav. It's kind of reasonable, so he doesn't beat. Why does Moth beat?
Making it possible for them to contest the payload, he says. He's gonna let it go right now.
I don't know why Moth beats.
Tricoven drops in that. Oh, again!
Just try to secure the fight, I guess.
With the self-destruct. It's getting a bit ridiculous.
Was probably early.
It
Because once he sees the Diva Bomb pop, he doesn't need to beat, so he should have held it. He definitely could have saved it there. Super's mistake that Violet could have gotten shattered there? I mean, Violet did get shattered. What do you mean? I don't know, man. Super is just a fucking Giga Chad and just getting value out of every shatter he has. It's like kind of insane. Like, if I had to pick the player who I thought individually played the best in this series, it is hands down Super. Diva, dude, Violet needs to stop letting his trance get forced by actually everything. Like, they trance, and that's a huge trade for Vancouver. Rascal gets shattered. They bubble to save him, but now that they have 2 support ults to 0 support ults, there's no way Shock can win. They didn't get anything with the trance, though. Then they beat, they push again. Didn't get anything with the beat either. So you just used 2 support ults to go aggressive and got 0 value. But that should still be the end of the fight, because they also have Rally. Shock almost won a fight where Vancouver used 3 support ults aggressively and Grav, got countered by almost no ults. Unreal. I mean, well played by Titans. Kind of. On first and second point. Why doesn't Violet play farther back near spawn doors? Because they were hugging the right side, so he wanted to push up and get poke, but he should have been still in a better position. Like, I can't tell you why he didn't play somewhere. I can tell you where I think he should have been playing, but it wouldn't be near the spawn doors. It would be like still where he was by the boxes, just a little more forward. Well, you could run to the Rhine.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an escort map, so once again, the attacker has to move the payload through the map. This is a really nasty part for attackers to get past here.
And usually, these maps are designed to be like 50-50, but usually the offense, it's a little bit more towards their side. Where you see point A is right here on your screen. It's very difficult to get to this point. We see a lot of teams, sometimes get held before there. They make it through, you kind of go through the canals, around to point B, and then finally at the end of the map, that would be where point C is to complete the map.
Blizzard Arena, it all ends here on Rialto. Only one of these teams.
Is it hard to implement all this? Should have been at Xbot and game. No, it's some of the easiest shit to implement, because it's like pretty repeatable. Like, you don't teach like, okay, so there's 2 ways you can teach something. If I'm a player who's only ever going to be playing King's Row in GOATS meta, I can learn in most situations where I should be most of the time. That's easy. The thing you actually need in Overwatch, though, that makes it significantly more complex is you need to equip a player with the thought process of how to figure out in the middle of a game where they should be, right? So that's not nearly as easy, because as a player, you're playing a ton of different maps. The metas are constantly changing, and you don't want to have to keep building up a player's knowledge for each meta. You want to have their game knowledge be more rooted in fundamentals that aren't map specific or comp specific, so that they can transfer between metas and maps easily. So the reason I say yes to where that is easy to solve where people play is that they were there for one of 2 reasons. They either didn't fundamentally understand where they should be, or they had the wrong thought, or they either didn't fundamentally understand where they should be, or they weren't thinking about it. Right? And they should always be thinking about it, especially in a match. So that's just their fault if they weren't. And if they fundamentally didn't know where to be, you have an extended conversation with them talking about where they should be ideally. And then you come to a good conclusion, and then they should understand where to be. If they think about it, they go, I have the SteelSeries Arctic 5, because it's the wired one. It's not the wireless one. So that's, to me, the difference. When you're learning stuff in Overwatch, you don't want to be learning map specific or comp specific
rules or positions generally. You can have some of them on some maps because they can be important, but the fundamentals of why they're important are the same in every comp and on every map. Like, an objective statement you can say is high ground is generally good in Overwatch. Doesn't mean that high ground's always good. Like, if you're an attack or a defender, playing on this high ground right here is not good. But I can tell you why it's not good, right? It's because this is a high ground where you don't really have an easy way to escape. It's very easy to shoot you. You can't LOS damage. Whereas this back high ground is very easy to escape, much harder to push. You can easily LOS damage. And like those fundamental rules apply on this map, but they aren't in any way related to the map. So you have like a set of knowledge and rules about Overwatch that you can apply to most situations and figure out a decent enough result. So that's, if that makes sense. I'm not going to answer the question about Sombra. That seems off topic. I'm sorry. Pro Charles 1, thank you very much for the Twitch Prime sub. PugChamp. Getting back to the review. I've been doing this for 3 hours. My brain is slowly melting, so let's finish this before my brain fully melts.
Could be our stage 1 champion. Shock start on the attack.
The Shock 3-0 on Rialto. The Titans 2-1. We casted a game they ended up losing on this map.
So Winstonglets on defense here, I know it's not related to the support stuff, but it's important for understanding the difference in how Violet has to play right now. He is looking, everyone on Vancouver is looking to kill him, so he has to play like he's a 5 HP target and pretty much hide. If he takes like a Zen headshot, he probably dies. If he gets discorded, he probably dies. Like, there's a lot of ways he dies here. It's pretty rough.
But you know, they've had the series pretty much in question when we've gone to Rialto in the past.
That's right. When Vancouver get to Rialto, normally they have the series locked.
You can see Violet's like 1 HP.
Very low on the low ground.
And as soon as he takes, I'm not exaggerating, any damage that can't be healed up by his passive regen or Lucio passive heal, Winstongoats immediately kills him and they lose. Because as soon as you invest resources, it's just like so easy to kill him. It's crazy. So
Slime's looking to do some damage
he
here.
took a little bit of damage, not even really his fault, but he instantly dies for it.
The Titans, they have lost 2 support players though. That is going to force them, even if they win this fight. it will
I'll
force
talk
the
about thought
Titans
process to
play
position
really
after this map.
aggressively.
Yes, Moth just trying to dance around the card.
Oh, he got to Twilight. That's huge.
Moth getting Twilight here and getting out alive is an insane play by him. Like, it's a massive carry play by him. It's actually so important, it's crazy. Makes all of Vancouver back up.
Also, Slime now has to wait as he spawned up a little bit ago, but he has to provide the speed boost here to Twilight to get him back in the action.
Janu, no one knows he's there. He's looking to just try and knock someone off the high ground or dive down on Violet. You see that Bumper tried to Jordan. They attempted to go for a pincer. Oh, Bumper gets stunned as soon as he goes for the primal raid. So he
Questionable grab. I don't think you can follow up, but
And then Graviton
No
Surge
damage.
from the Titans has no follow-up damage. Yes, they managed to hold
Shocker
the
very
Shock
close to
for
both
one
support
round,
ults.
but don't get rid of any of their players, and now Somitsu is down. This is where the Shock can start to build up a little bit more momentum. But
super cool play by Titans here. As soon as Twilight sees they 8 Grav, he knows he doesn't need to save Trance, and he goes in with Trance. They don't get any value from it. Turns out pretty poorly. But still, thought process is good. Execution's fine. Just ult econ-wise. Or ult econ-wise, it's fine. Thought process is maybe bad because you're already down 1.
in a great position to get Jano out of his mech, and the Shock will win this fight. Now they need to get the Titans off the point. Huxar, he wasn't going anywhere as Super brought the hammer down.
And now it's kind of like Ilios, where Bumper potentially has to make a move here to switch off of the Winston and go to Reinhardt, which he does. Fortunate here for the Vancouver Titans, his Super had just used his Earth Shatter, so not going to have any type of advantage in building that ultimate.
I watched the game live on stream, actually. So that VOD is probably still up, but you'd have to sync it with the Owl stream.
To start moving the payload. As the Shock want to push up, they know they're
But
so
it's very
far
hard to
away
do
from
in-depth
Graviton
analysis
Surge
in the
Ultra.
middle of actually watching something
Raptors gonna
live.
have a second one here.
It's crazy how quickly you accrued that. But when you are
And
playing
Achilles.
close to the fight at 100
ZP,
shots-
Vast Flame, and
Oh,
Achilles.
this is cute. Sinatra baits.
So
But when you are playing most of the fight at 100 charge, oh,
this is good by Titans. You don't want to beat here. You just want to die and reset. You don't need to win this fight. And beat probably doesn't win you the fight anyway.
Super with 3, and the San Francisco Shock just used a very clever position to circumvent the most difficult part of the map for attackers to play around. This corner is treacherous, and the Shock have bypassed it.
And because Vancouver support ultimates, they work on that line of sight. So when the players are around the corner, if you were to use a sound barrier, it doesn't connect with the players on the opposite side. So you may have only connected with like half of your team there. That's why you don't see them use any.
Oh man, the Vancouver Titans, they're mad. But Solomon still doesn't have another Graviton Surge. But the Titans are still pushing forward with whatever they have, though.
Both teams rally.
Trying to survey.
Oh, Super again!
From the backside.
Big shatter from Super. Why do they beat first? They beat because Twilight gets shattered. It's a fine beat. Someone's dying is the end of the fight, though. That's really bad. Investing both support ults versus Shatter Bomb and losing is possibly the worst ult economy situation that can happen, other than stacking both support ults versus Shatter and losing. Like this is a really, really, really bad spot to be in. Violet trances though. Don't think it was needed. Definitely wasn't needed. The beat's a little late. Probably wasn't needed either, but it's fine. Like, making sure you cap this point is worth possibly wasting a couple ults just to make sure you get it. Because completing Rialto is so incredibly unlikely.
They finish the map. The Shock have steamrolled through the first 2 points. About 4 minutes left in the time bank. They're in a very good spot here. You do have ultimates coming online here, though, for the Vancouver Titans. The next one. The Titans do what they know best, and that's
They take space with Trance. I like it. Like, the pressure of having Trance up here takes space.
Do need to walk up through a tunnel, either this one here on the right or the other one. So now they try and take the Titans by surprise. They force themselves.
Super's really fucking low. Grav comes out. Can they kill anybody? I mean, Bumper carries with a shatter. Great. Okay, so we have Trance and Beat halfway for Shock, and we have both support ults up for Titans.
Use there for the Titans. The Shock now build up a little bit of an ultimate war chest of their own.
War chest.
Sinatra, you think he'll get close to this Graviton Surge rather quickly with how fast he charges them up.
Again, easy come, easy go sometimes for Sinatra. You do see him fire them off rather frivolously on occasion. But right now, the Shock definitely need a good grab. Or a shatter, as that may be. And Super has hit a colossal number of those so far. Easier said than done when Bumper is trying to protect his team.
You see Bumper, though, he just keeps holding the shield up. And Sinatra works it down, but that forces the Vancouver Titans to have to back up. Where Super, we see sometimes he pushes up without the shield up.
And this is, dare I quote it, free real estate for the Shock. They're able to force the Titans away just by sort of snarling in their general direction. But both teams build up to quite a large bank of ultimates. Johnny, you better be careful, son. You're ready to go down. He's forced to use the self-destruct.
Sinatra's very good at the video game. Twilight trances the Grav. Violet trances the Grav. Both good plays. Slime beats first, saves Bumper. But Bumper just took so much more damage. I don't think it matters. Moth's beat was a bit better there. Mostly because Slime had to beat to save someone and Moth got to beat to push. The beat to push is just better.
Super trying to keep him out of position, and now it's time for the Titans. Can they stand and deliver, or will they be down? Bumper goes down without a word, without a whisper. It was just a whimper. Rascal caught inside a Graviton Surge when Moth gets the finish on Zominsu. Slime trying to stay.
They do cap this fight, right? Yeah. I mean, Trance is, at this point, support ults or whatever. Like, they cap. It's a clusterfuck of a fight, but they cap. Okay, 1 sec. I'm gonna run to the bathroom before and get more water before we finish this. Okay, I am back. Pug you. Titan's attack, Shock's attack was pretty amazing. Completing with over a minute, or with about a minute up, is really good. Yeah.
Take this all the way here. They've just started on the attack. If they get through these first couple of checkpoints relatively fast, it'll be the Shock who starts sweating. Yeah, nothing crazy about the composition for the Titans. They haven't really switched up their characters. Bumper wants to push around the corner here. Normally teams try and bait with part of aggression, but they just go straight for it. On the
No support ults have been used.
Obviously, one more.
Rascal. Play together right now, but they're a little split. You notice he was a little low on health. Had to back out. The Shock have to play together right now, but they're a little split. And the Titans look like they're trying to make the most of that. They get Trokoven once again. Violet's going to have to go for a Transcendence in just a moment. And here he comes, zooming straight on in.
Trancing in a 5v6.
But during this, the Shock need to find kills on the Titans.
Shatter on Twilight's big if they can kill him.
Super though, solid
But they
kills.
tranced in a 5v6. Now they rallied in a 4v6.
Look indomitable right now.
And they end up wasting their trance for no value. That's really unlucky. Didn't even trade it for ults.
Put up really no defense there on point A.
I understand wanting to trance there, but I don't think it's a good idea.
Through them.
I think you just have to reset and
4 minutes and
accept you lost.
time bank to get from
Good job by Vancouver, though, not overcommitting ults in that
when
fight.
they're the aggressive team, Mitch, they look so strong. It's when Super and the San Francisco Shock, they get aggressive and push them back. That's when Vancouver starts to look beatable.
Definitely looks like Vancouver are fed up now with the fun and games. Bumper got knocked down to the low ground there. Perhaps that was intentional, but either way, there was no one from the Shock to be made susceptible to that Earth Shadow. Super Shield is
I like the beat on the graph. It's a risky play. It's a needed play. It's a good play.
going for a charge, but
Twilight tries to follow up with Trance because Bumper charged really deep.
timing on that sound barrier. It may not be
And,
enough.
like, that's just kind of the end.
Alive.
It's a good Trance by Twilight. It was good to recognize that going aggressive with Trance there wins you the fight.
And Sinatra also gets caught out there. This is all going wrong for the Shock, Matt. Everything going in favor of the Titans now. And look at how they use this momentum. Sails full of wind and full steam ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the Shock don't put up a really good fight here. Potentially one more fight. They're actually going to give this up. And Wyoming gets
They have 5.5 minutes to cap third point. What the heck?
Have you seen a Rialto so fast this stage?
No.
If I have,
Oh, okay, so Shock have Trance.
the Shock need to find that
Titans don't have a support ult.
Any stop in general.
But Matt, they've got hardly anything to work with in terms of those ultimates. The Titans just keep cascading from one ultimate to another. Gravity finds through with his down the strike. The Vancouver Titans are out of control. And the Shock,
Good aggressive play by Titans.
the payload careening towards the end of the map, and the Vancouver Titans have all the time in the world. They can stop off for a cup of tea.
And the record on this.
It's like it's not
It's a
to
good
be.
trance.
Miraculous pin to the start of this fight. Jacob and Sinatra both knocked down. That's a perfect shatter from
It's a good
Bumper.
trance by Twilight.
The Super fires back. He keeps his team alive with a strong shatter of his own, but it may not be enough. Moth could be caught out here trying to stay alive, and he is. Oh my lord!
God damn, what an attack, man.
It is so fast. Just with
Did Moth have a beat?
with that extra healing, but
When was Moth's beat?
Super alive though.
This was Moth's beat in the graph. The only beat Moth got to have in the entire map because of how fast it was one beat on second point. Insane.
On the line, championship moment. In a map that's very strong for the defenders.
They find another
They
level.
break a record by a minute.
It's astonishing. That is absolutely astonishing. 3 minutes and 33 seconds on this map. And look at them, they look
open D-Mac.
so confident. Imperious almost. Jana does get D-Mac as well. The Shock may have an opening here. At least it's going to be tough for the Titans to mitigate oncoming damage, but there's 20 seconds left. The Shock need to get as far as they can with this little amount of time. But so far, that payload is not moving. Bumper is keeping it contested by walking up and around the corner. And now it's time. The Titans look like they want to close the teeth and the trap on the Shock and finish this one here.
Twilight has Trance up. Violet also has Trance up.
Coming into this fight, this is where it begins. Both Violet and Twilight are gonna have Transcendences, but neither team really is I guess, incentivized to go too aggressive here. But eventually the fight will begin. And
Oh yeah,
Bumper
Sobensu
again
just
might
fucking
also find
grabs
himself
here, doesn't he?
Super just ate a fire strike
He's
from
like,
the
fuck it.
shield. He needs to be careful.
Bad idea, but both teams Trance. The issue is Sinatra has a grab after the Trance runs off. Moth's beat is way too early there.
Stay in this one.
That beat was way too early. Granted, high pressure, but way too early. Almost arguably wasted. Slime speed was meh, I guess, but...
And because we're in overtime of the entire map, they won't get...
Look. You are trancing in a graph. The chance of anyone dying is quite literally 0%. And he beats while the trance is ongoing. Most of his beats have been good. Almost all of his beats have been very good. A couple of his beats have been like good in most ways, but bad in 1 or 2 ways. This beat is just really bad. Granted, literally map 7 of Stage 1 Finals in overtime. If there's ever a time nerves are going to affect a decision, this is the time nerves are going to affect your decision. So I don't think this beat is like a reason to get annoyed with Moth at all, but objectively this beat is very bad. Slime speed doesn't do much more than Moth speed. They both kind of get wasted, but Slime speed had a better intent.
Quickly dwindle down. The longer they've been on in overtime, the quicker the bar dwindles. Basically, the Shock cannot leave the payload for any reason right now. They're forced to fight here. Super push ahead. Shatter comes in, doesn't find anyone, nor does it self-destruct though. Coming in for the Titans.
How does Violet die? Oh my god. Wait, please appreciate this. Hold up. We're watching this fight in 0.25 speed, because that is the biggest dick play by Twilight I've seen in my life. Follow the cursor. Insane. Insane play by Twilight. Violet would get Trance up in this fight if he didn't die. Shock just fall apart and die. Unlucky.
Super's missing. The Shock are down to just 3.
What a time for an ad break, man. Yeah, if I was going to give MVP to anyone on Titans, it would probably be Slime or Janu. Twilight has definitely had some of the highest highs of the map, but he's had some bad ults.
The Titans have 4 minutes and 26 seconds, a heck of a lot of time to get just only a portion of the way through the map, Matt. It is close, that checkpoint.
They basically just have to make it to checkpoint A. We do see teams get held here on Rialto, though, before this checkpoint. The Shock pretty much have 2 fights to do it. If they lose the first fight, they kind of have a fight underneath the tunnel by the choke.
Statue. And the Vancouver Titans, they have the leisure, the luxury of taking it slow.
Didn't expect this. Get them charged, just put some pressure down. Interesting for the Shock. They have to rotate around underneath. They didn't expect this, though.
Buffer wants to fight. He likes fighting in close quarters, but Super's able to repel him. The Shock have a player advantage here, and they're not getting ahead of themselves, but they need to get to the payload. That one's still moving right.
Push is so good for Titans. Twilight's close, Violet's kind of even. Moth has so much more ult charge than Slime from amp healing. It's actually crazy.
And then it will be another 6v6. The Shock cannot afford to lose.
And I wonder if the Shock have an idea that Bumper has to shatter.
Oh, maybe not. Bumper goes for the shatter. Rascal was knocked down, but a quick sound barrier is going to keep everyone on the Shock pretty much immune from dying for that period of time. They need to continue.
Shatter hits Brig, engage on Brig, beat comes out, good beat, saves Brig. They can't do anything aggressive, but they do. They're aggressive enough to force trance, so this is still really good. Twilight probably didn't need to trance. I'd say it was a bad trance.
Get no value. Sinatra also.
But
Graviton's it.
they have Grav and they're close to Diva Bomb and they have combo.
I was talking about. This is going to be a one-fight territory. You can see Summon Su's screen.
No margin
The path to
there.
victory right there.
The San Francisco Shock had to go now. Super sees the payload. This is the checkpoint right here. That
Slime Boops Moth.
no! Moth is down! The Shock were trying to hang on, but the Titans look too good right now. Takedown slide. Both Lucios are missing, and Sobix are also removed by Trichoven. Zelda's trying throwing in. Look at that shatter from Bumper. It's huge. He tries to go for the finish, and he gets Sinatra. Violet responds back on towards Haxal, and Twilight is trying to keep it
Insane fight for Shock to win.
He comes back. He redeems himself by booping Bumper over
However,
the river. And
Titans come back with 2 support ults and they win 100% of the time. So even though it's like, wow, Shock won that fight, like there's no way they can hold this next fight.
The Shock are too greedy for that, but Super.
But yeah, like they just speed in with Trance, engage on Super, kill Rascal. It's a really good play by Titans to notice that. Good use of the Trance too. Okay, so that was every support ult in the Stage 1 final. I think that both Lucios played exceptionally. There's like 1 or 2 beats each of them did in the entire series that I think were bad. Moth had more bad beats than Slime, but to be fair, that's only because he died in 2 of his beats, or 3 of his beats. So I don't know if I'd count that. Like it's hard to say. I do think Slime played better than Moth, but both played exceptionally well. Both had almost all of their ults be perfect, and I think that in a series this long with this much pressure, that's good. Definitely like some timing things that could be improved, but all in all was good. I think both Zens had objectively bad ults throughout the series. I think Violet had more of them than Twilight. But to be fair, Twilight's were like trancing at weird times and getting them forced, whereas Violet's kept being like he was just a little bit slow to trance a lot. So I don't know if I'm willing to say I think one of them played better. I think if you ignore trances completely, Twilight probably objectively played better. So he probably still played better with trances too. I think in like a one-on-one match, I think the only people who I think played better on Shock than on Vancouver, like roll for roll, is like Super and Sinatra. It was really close for everybody, but I think that like Super and Sinatra played out of their mind in comparison to Bumper and Summon Su. The amount of value that Super got was like just fucking crazy. But yeah, after watching it, I don't think the reason Shock lost was support ult usage. So that's my professional opinion on it. That yeah, Violet's ults weren't great, but Twilight's ults weren't great. So it's definitely not only the support ults that made a difference. Yeah, that is all. Pog you. Someone had a question about positioning. I think Janu played better than Choi. Like Janu is an insanely impressive diva. Saying that Janu is better than you is like that's not even comparable to a bad thing. It's like saying, oh yeah, Jonak might be a better Zen than me. It's like, yeah, it was a close series. Jonak's considered the best Zen in the world, so being slightly worse than him is not necessarily a downside. I don't think the stats matter. Like, stats tell 5 to 10% of the story of the series. Sinatra's positionings just did so much more for his team than Summon Su's. Summon Su is a lot of the time playing with his team as a unit and engaging. Sinatra was, in my opinion, making a lot more space and creating pressure. What did I say? Super had some positional mistakes on Numbani? I mean, probably. Probably every player had some positional mistakes on every map. Finals have been officially analyzed. It only took 3.5 hours, with 90% of it focused on supports. Yeah, not even supports play, support ults. 3.5 hours just on the ults the supports used. Oi, vey, bruh. I don't know. If anybody tries to use stats to convince me someone's better than someone else, I'm usually very skeptical of their argument. Because the only reason you need to use stats to back up an argument like that is that the other person's not going to initially agree with you. If you say, like, JJoNak is better than, I don't know, Guido, everyone's going to be like, yes, we all agree. And then if you find out, like, Guido has more damage per 10 minutes, that doesn't change your opinion if you think Guido is better than JJoNak. You're like, no, it's probably just, like, I don't know, weird in statistics. So it's important to keep in mind that statistics are good in large sample sizes in very, very specific situations, and almost never good relating to an individual player. That's why medals don't mean anything. But yeah. Okay. Someone asked a question about how to learn positioning, right? That was a question that was asked at some point. I want a good overhead. Give me a good overhead. Yeah, individual stats do speak more of the team than the individual. That's a good way to put it. I mean, if your Rein dies first a lot, it could be your Rein's fault, could be your Zarya's fault for bubble timing, could be your Brig's fault for not knowing when to heal and not knowing how to position to stop aggression, could be your Lucio's fault for not knowing how to position and when to boop, could be your Zen's fault for not, like, discording and pressuring their Rein hard enough. Like, there's literally so many possible answers for those questions that the stats alone mean nothing. Usually in other sports, stats are pretty well represented. I would agree. But Overwatch is not like most other games. We saw a lot of 5v6 fight wins in this series. Statistically, those should not happen as often as we saw them this series, but this series, they happened a lot. And next series that happens in Overwatch League, maybe they never happen. So it's like very hard to parse. I wanted to go to college to be a statistician before getting into Overwatch, like while I was leaving high school. So I have a pretty decent knowledge of. I have an okay knowledge of stats. Was Rascal the weakest link on Shock this game? I don't think so. I don't know. Shock, like, straight up got outplayed as a team. Shock had a bunch of players who made a lot of really good individual plays. Titans didn't have a lot of massive individual plays, but just kind of played better as a team. I feel like that's kind of it. Yes, I would much rather see team-based stats. Like, or even if you showed stats for an entire season, I very much like those stats. So, like, there was a stat card when Fusion played Atlanta in the playoffs where they compared Boombox and Dogman, and they showed every regular season game stats in there. And it was like, well, Boombox is, like, better at damage per 10 and, like, accuracy per 10 and healing per 10, and dies less, but, like, Dogman gets more final blows and is, like, part of more limbs. So it's like, and dies more. So it's like those kind of show you a picture of play style, and it's not like factual, like one is better, but it gives you like a concept about like, okay, well, Dogman probably plays more aggressive. Boombox is better though, but I mean, regardless, like Dogman probably plays more aggressive and dies, but Boombox like stays alive more and does more damage over time. Did Super overall play better than Bumper? I would give Super MVP hands down in this match, even though they lost. I think Super played out of his mind in this match. It was insane. I think Super's play in this match was insane. It's also like you don't even know what everyone's saying. So like if Super was popping off mechanically, but he was like toxic and flaming people in comms, he doesn't deserve MVP. So like those kind of things are important inside of a team to actually know who's the people carrying it. Because like the person on Vancouver who's helping them keep composure after shot Caprialta with a minute up to come back and have that attack, that person makes a huge impact in the overall team, even though you can't see it. And we don't know if that was Slime or it was Bumper or like who it was on the team, but somebody was like doing that, and it's important in the team even if you can't see it. What's the cleanest match I've ever witnessed so far? Fusion Uni versus NYXL's Academy team in Season 2 of Contenders. We played a best of 7 that lasted 40 minutes. Fusion Uni 4-0'd them, full held them on 3 maps, 2-0'd them on Koth. Very fun series to play. I think Goats will still be good, as heartbreaking as that sounds. Unlucky. I mean, I don't know. I haven't scrimmed it, so I can't say yet, but we'll see. You play in team as a flex support, your team struggles against Magos, especially in the design control center. How can you counter that? Either play May or don't go right side and try to play around walls, bait walls. If you're pushing through chokes, try to group up as 6 to make it harder for her to wall. It's just one of the best May maps in the game. Struggling against it's reasonable. I don't know. Will Goat still be OP? Probably. Probably. I think it's a safe assumption, at least, that it will be. I mean, why is Goat strong? Well, it's really hard to kill Zenyatta. Zenyatta's a really good hero. Gets Zarya a really high charge. High charge Zarya is a really good hero. Can be really objective focused in an objective based game. All of the ults in the comp are pretty good. And it's really good against dive comps because you have so much healing and sustain. Well, what of that got nerfed? None of it got nerfed. So you're expecting the DPS buffs to be good enough against Goats. And if dive comps still won't be good enough against Goats, we're talking about the DPS buffs to other heroes like Junkrat and Soldier. And I don't think those changes are big enough to beat Goats. You could also say that Baptiste maybe is good enough to change the meta, but I'm also not sold on that idea. So it's like there's a big... I think people who say Goats is dead aren't thinking about it a lot. I mean, Zarya grab didn't get changed, Zarya right click got changed. Lucio's boost matters a bit, but it only matters a bit against like dive and in the Goat's mirror. So it's like that's also awkward, right? Because it just makes the Goat mirror slower because speed boost is less. I mean, it's hard to guess. If I was good at game design, I would probably work in it. I'm not good at game design. So I can't provide you that many feasible solutions to Goats. I think that probably the issue is that Lucio, Zen, and Braga are an insane support trio and are pretty much good into everything. So maybe reduce Briggs' healing or something like that. I don't know. But yeah. I don't know. It's a hard problem. Like, it's a really strong comp. The other thing is people have gotten really good at it, right? So it's like, even if it gets nerfed, people are still so well practiced on it compared to everything else. The Zen nerf is only big versus Goats. So that's... I can't see what you posted, but thank you, Mello. Right? So you're reducing the damage Discord does, but one of the most important things against Goats was having a Zen so you could Discord and kill people. So you're actually buffing Goats by nerfing Zen? Does that make sense? No matter how like insane that sounds, is like a lot of the heroes in Goats, like D.Va, Zen, and Lucio, mostly D.Va Zen, are really good against goats. But by nerfing them, even though you make goats weaker, you make anti-goats weaker, which keeps goats strong. A rise of Moira goats? No, because then you just play Zen goats and you beat Moira goats. So it's like still just Zen goats. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. Like the only hero in goats, 3 heroes that aren't used in other comps are Rein, Zarya, Brig. They're kind of only exist in goats. Brig has some flexibility, but she's not really played in anti-goats comps. No, Zen goats is still just great. No, Zen is amazing. Keep playing Zenyatta. He does a ton of damage. But regardless, don't feel like talking about game theory on goats. That is it for me. I'm going to go sit outside in the sun, and then go to the gym, and then be a healthy adult. That is the play. Eat what? I don't know. I'm going to order some food. I enjoy goats. I think goats is a good meta for the game. I think it changed the way a lot of people had to think about the game and how a lot of people had to play the game, and that overall it's a good way to learn Overwatch. Because trying to organize in a quad DPS meta or even in a triple DPS meta is atrocious compared to goats. But I do very much enjoy goats as a comp. I think that it is the most structured and organized form of Overwatch that has ever existed. Downside being, any comp, if you watch it played on every map, is always going to get boring. So I just enjoy Overwatch. I like playing any comp at all. But I did particularly enjoy goats because of the extra strategy and specifically ult econ that mattered a lot in it. Okay, yeah, that's it for me. I'm gonna go do things. Goodbye. I'll upload this to YouTube and I will tweet about it. Let me link the YouTube right now. Actually, did somebody have? I should just make that a command. So I'll post it. It's not uploaded yet for obvious reasons, but I will update it and upload this entire stream completely unedited. So have fun with that. Super scuffed channel, but here it is. Ideally, will become less scuffed in the nearest future, but we'll see. Yeah. Goodbye. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Elk because I am greedy for Twitter followers, and on Instagram at elk.ow because Elk was taken, and that's so sad. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye. Wait, let me host somebody first. Who am I hosting? No one I know is playing the video game. Host contenders? Probably. Give me a sec, though. We're going to host Masa. Atlanta main support. Okay. GG's or whatever. Thanks for hanging out. See ya.